During the trial, the little girl suddenly stood up and asked the judge what she had to do to get her kidnapper released. The entire courtroom was immediately surprised and confused. No one understood why the girl would plead for the man who had held her captive. The girl explained that every time she said something, the man would be terrified and obey unconditionally. The time I spent with him became the most special time for me because no one had ever treated me so well. I know asking for leniency for the kidnapper sounds pointless, but in my view, if kidnapping is an act of deception and deprivation of freedom, then my life has been one of imprisonment from birth until he appeared. The days she spent with him were when she felt the most free. What made an 11-year-old girl plead for mercy for her kidnapper? Was it naive thinking, or was there a hidden force secretly controlling everything? Going back a while, this man was a typical single father raising his child. He works tirelessly all year round to raise his child because his beloved wife took all the money in the house and disappeared without a word for 3 years. Every day, after school, the father takes his daughter to the scrapyard where they both work. Music. It's not because he wants to, but because his meager salary isn't enough to pay for an extra tutoring course for his daughter. One day, during a simple meal, the little girl softly complained of a headache and dizziness. Her colleagues also chimed in, saying she looked pale lately. Hearing this, the father turned pale and rushed his daughter to the hospital. The results left him speechless when he learned that his daughter had leukorrhea and needed urgent chemotherapy. Otherwise, it would be too late to save her. Hai Ari was hospitalized shortly after and had to wait for a suitable bone marrow donor for surgery. But the cost of hospitalization and chemotherapy was so high that he didn't know how to manage it. In the midst of his despair, his ex-wife unexpectedly appeared at the hospital. She showed him a picture of a little girl about Hai Ari's age and whispered a way to quickly earn money to save their child. That's right, the child in the picture is also the child of a famous wealthy family. When the father heard this, he was terrified, his heart pounding, and he immediately thought about the possibility of going to jail and his daughter being left alone. But his ex-wife cleverly reassured him that this family was rich and they were afraid of getting a bad reputation, so they would never dare report it to the police. And I heard that the girl was being mistreated. It sounded reasonable, but he still tried to shake his head because of his financial difficulties and his reluctance to commit a crime. However, seeing his little daughter curled up like a child, the father felt his heart being squeezed between fear and love, and he gritted his teeth and did something he had previously rejected. That night, the father drove his old car to the upscale neighborhood where the little girl in the picture lived to carry out his plan. But as he turned into the street, a little girl suddenly ran out in front of the car, startling him and causing him to slam on the brakes. Then the girl fainted right in front of the car. He took out the photo to compare and realized the girl lying unconscious was Hai, the person he needed to arrest. Unexpected luck came as if even God had played a part in this criminal plan. Mr. Jun immediately called his ex-wife to inform her that he had found the little girl. Without hesitation, he carried her home, still in shock because everything had gone so smoothly. The next morning, upon entering the house, the father was startled to see Du-hai awake and standing motionless in the middle of the room. What confused him even more was her inexplicably calm demeanor and her composed way of speaking, showing no fear or panic like someone who had just been kidnapped. There was a rope on the table that he hadn't had time to put away yet, and of course, the sharp-eyed little girl immediately asked about it. In the most embarrassing situation, Muong Jun could only explain that it was a clothes drying rack. But even more surprisingly, Du-hai wondered why she didn't know who she was. All her memories seemed to have been erased, leaving only her quick-witted curiosity and a tone that was both innocent and annoyed. Unable to sit still, Du-hai began exploring the old house. Then, seeing a drawing of a father and daughter, she turned around and called Myan Jun dad, causing him to nod in agreement without thinking, as if heaven had given him a chance to play the role perfectly. The little girl then asked his name, so he said her name was Hai. Even after hearing that, Du-hai still didn't stop. She continued to ask what had happened, why she had amnesia, and even doubted whether they were really father and daughter, because their faces didn't resemble each other at all. Not stopping there, she glanced at the rice pot and complained, wondering how long her father intended to let her starve. Going outside, Myan wondered if the girl really had amnesia, arguing about everything and being so clever. A while later, he returned with 2 packets of rice balls bought quickly at the convenience store. Du-hai initially acted haughty, pretending not to want to eat, but then she took 1 packet to try and nodded in agreement that it was okay. However, she didn't forget to add a condition. Next time, she had to cook a proper meal, no sloppy cooking. The little girl was so perceptive that she smelled cigarette smoke and immediately criticized it, causing her father to just laugh awkwardly and change the subject. Seeing that the situation was not good, Mr. Jun decided to go outside and call Du-hai's parents to demand ransom money, but the phone only rang in vain. The next day, he tried to win her over with his homemade white pancake, a local specialty, but Hai frowned at the sight of it. When she checked the bag of flour, she discovered it had expired 4 years ago, and casually remarked that the manufacturers probably just put the expiration date on for fun. The remark made me choke, but he patiently urged her to eat it before she got hungry. As a result, the little girl hit him on the head and complained that the house was dirty and stuffy, like a pigsty. Myung's anger flared up, but as soon as he saw Hai come out of the room, he pretended to be getting ready to take a shower. The little girl continued to curiously ask if there was anything to read in the house besides those boring children's books. Mi ran and gave the little girl his old tablet to watch cartoons to pass the time. Then he went to the grocery store near his house to buy more food. On the way home, he tried to contact Do Hai's parents again, but no one answered. Having no other choice, he called his ex-wife to report the situation and was shocked to find out she wasn't at the hospital as he had said. Sensing something was wrong, he quickly hailed a taxi and rushed to the location to check on his daughter's condition. Meanwhile, at home, Do Hai unconsciously held her tablet, opened the web browser, and accessed the international news site CNS. Surprisingly, she read fluently every line of English as if it were her mother tongue. Looking at the news reports filled with text, the little girl couldn't help but be surprised. It turned out that even though she had amnesia, the only thing that remained intact in her head was her ability to read and understand English as if it were instinct. When she arrived at the hospital, Mi and Do had to hold their breath and walk step by step like thieves for fear of being recognized, thinking he had become the target of a kidnapping. Upon reaching the hospital room, he carefully changed his daughter's urine bag. Just then, he heard someone entering, causing him to panic and hide under the bed. Unfortunately, he was discovered by the nurse. Without time to explain, Mong Jun jumped up and ran out for his life. The nurse chased after him to announce that the hospital had found a suitable bone marrow donor for HA. However, he needed to pay all the hospital bills and overdue surgery costs. Hearing this, Mayan could only scratch his head in frustration, then suddenly remembered that he had left Hai alone at home. Panicked, he immediately took a taxi back, stopping by the grocery store to buy some food to temporarily appease his daughter. When he arrived home, he busily cooked and arranged the food, only to receive a merciless, judgmental look from Do Hai. The little girl frowned at the dish, then picked up her chopsticks to try it, and commented that he needed to redo it this time, but since he was hungry, he put it off for now. Mi Wai trembled, only able to smile awkwardly, feeling both embarrassed and sorry for himself. A moment later, Do Hai suddenly looked up and asked her father if he knew she spoke fluent English. Then, without waiting for an answer, she started performing a long string of English words, then switched to Chinese, then Japanese, and then even AMI. Her father sat there trembling, listening, his head spinning like a top, wishing he had a pause button. It wasn't over yet, as Hai continued to question why her mother wasn't in the house. Had her mother moved out, or were her parents divorced, or was there some kind of relationship problem? Faced with this unexpected interrogation, Myung Jun could only nod vaguely, silently praying that the little girl wouldn't ask any more questions. As night fell, he tried to contact Do Hai's parents again, but this time their phones were completely switched off. Losing patience, Muong decided to go to their villa to investigate. The large house was silent, the lights off, and there was no sign that they were worried about finding their child. Feeling uneasy and angry, he returned to his car and opened his phone to ask Google what to do when a child is kidnapped. And of course, the answer didn't help at all, only making him more confused. Back home, Myung Jun took care of Do Hai carefully, just like he used to. But when she looked down on her hands, Do Hai frowned and asked why both her arms were covered in bruises. Had he hit her? The question made Myung tremble. Then he quickly blamed some buzzing bees as the culprit. Do Hai looked at him and nodded, saying, "Probably so, because this dad looks so weak, he can't possibly beat anyone." Confused, Myung Jun suddenly had an idea. He wanted to record Do Hai's voice and trick her into saying, "Dad, I miss you," to motivate me. Of course, Do Hai was skeptical because she had never seen this dad go to work before and need motivation to work. After some persuasion, the little girl finally managed to say the words "dad" twice, then stopped, asking her father to buy her a new phone so she could call him directly for convenience. When she realized her father's financial difficulties, she agreed to let him record her. While recording, he trembled slightly, deliberately pinching her hand to make her cry louder. Afterwards, the two of them played happily, and the atmosphere suddenly became unusually warm. That night, he sat alone listening to the recording over and over again as if it were a message from his own daughter. He intended to send the file to Do Hai's parents, but no matter how many times he called, no one answered. Finally, he texted his ex-wife saying that he couldn't contact Do Hai's family and would go there himself to see what they were doing. As he drove to the alley leading to Do Hai's villa, the father stopped short when he saw an ambulance with its siren blaring speeding straight in. Feeling uneasy, he ventured inside, but witnessed a scene of people coming and going, reporters jostling to take pictures, and police officers standing all over the yard. Before he could understand what was happening, he froze when he saw 2 stretchers covered with white sheets being carried out. People were whispering that it was Mr. and Mrs. Choi, the director of a large hospital, and his wife who had been attacked several days earlier. Hearing this news, Myung-jun felt as if the ground beneath his feet had collapsed. His heart pounded wildly, and his head spun. Without thinking further, he quickly turned and ran, silently praying that he had nothing to do with this horrific event. Earlier, the investigation team led by police officer Park Sang-yeon arrived at the scene. The landlord, Choi Jin-tae, the hospital director, was found with a Japanese sword piercing his body, while his wife's body lay beside him, severed by a utility knife. The atmosphere became even more tense when it was discovered that the room's heater had been on at a high temperature for several days. The police quickly took a statement from the maid who was the first to discover the incident. She recounted that the couple had no enemies and suddenly remembered their daughter, Do-hai, who had been missing for several days. Noticing this detail, Van immediately led his team into Do-hai's room. The tidy room was filled only with books. Then a colleague ran up to report something suspicious. When Yun came downstairs, she was astonished to find a sealed room that looked exactly like an operating room with neatly arranged medical instruments. Just then, the technician reported another piece of news. For days earlier, the security company had come and removed the entire camera system of the villa, at someone's request. After escaping the scene, Myung-jun almost fell into a state of panic. He sped home and tried to call his ex-wife to tell her the news, but the phone kept ringing and then going dead. The feeling of helplessness made him even more confused. Fearing being implicated, Myung-jun came up with a plan. He drove to an empty plot of land, stuffed a piece of rag into the gas tank, and then set it on fire. Just seconds later, the car burst into flames, obliterating all traces of him. But while he was struggling with panic, something else happened at home. A strange man appeared at the door, holding a large brick, and without hesitation smashed the glass before sneaking into the house. The noise woke Do-hai, who jumped up and grabbed the backscratcher next to her to defend herself. The intruder entered the room, thinking the little girl was still fast asleep under the blanket, and approached her. But as soon as he touched the blanket, Do-hai quietly appeared from behind and delivered a powerful blow with a backscratcher to him. Without waiting to react, the little girl dashed out the door and ran away, with the man chasing closely behind. A short while later, Mayan returned, only to find the door smashed and furniture scattered everywhere. He rushed into the house, calling Do-hai's name everywhere, but couldn't find her. His heart pounding, Myung-run panicked and ran out into the street, still calling Do-hai's name. Do-hai ran, looking back, and suddenly heard her father calling, but he called her by her real name, Do-hai, instead of Hai-a as he had said. At this moment, Mi was still running all over the neighborhood, shouting hoarsely, searching for his daughter. Meeting an old man hunched over pulling a cart, he rushed over and asked if he had seen a little girl around. The old man replied that besides the two of them, there was no one else around. As he pulled the cart away, he suddenly recognized his familiar backscratcher. A feeling of unease made him stop the old man to greet him. He had just lifted the blanket when he saw a small foot underneath. Before he could react, the old man collecting scrap metal lunged forward to attack. But Mi was quicker, grabbing hold of him. During the struggle, the old man pushed the cart down the slope. Myung's heart pounded as he watched the cart speed away. At that moment, the cart hit an obstacle, sending Do-hai flying into the air. In that chaotic moment, he rushed forward and managed to catch the little girl before they both fell to the ground. When she regained consciousness, Myung trembled to see Hai sitting in front of her. She reproached him, saying that because he left her alone at home, she was in danger, and questioned why he didn't call the police or an ambulance. That question left Myung-jun speechless for a moment, his face showing clear embarrassment. He could only promise that the two of them would go to the hospital tomorrow morning and then report to the police. Hearing this, Do-hai's eyes softened, and she held Myung-jun's hand tightly, only gently telling him never to leave their child alone again. At the police station, investigator Park Sang-yeon had completed the case report of Director Choi and his wife. Based on the evidence gathered, he further reported that Mr. Choi, the victim, had ordered the security company to remove the entire surveillance camera system of the villa 4 days prior. This detail puzzled even his superiors. Shortly afterward, his colleague brought a USB containing a video recording of the accident that occurred in front of the Choi family's house. In the video, Hai is seen collapsing in front of a car and then being picked up and driven away by a stranger. Suspiciously, this car is not registered in any database. The investigation team immediately retrieved traffic cameras around the area to trace the trail. To expand the investigation, they went with colleagues to the hospital where Mr. Choi used to work. They met Dr. Yun, a close colleague of Mr. Choi. Dr. Yun recounted that Mr. Choi was extremely dedicated to his profession, even building a laboratory right in his home for convenient research. But strangely, before the incident, Mr. Choi unexpectedly took leave to go to Singapore for a vacation, a trip his wife did not participate in. According to the doctor, the couple frequently argued on the phone, apparently over family and work-related issues. When Sang Yun showed the suspicious man's photo, Dr. Yun glanced at it and shook his head, saying he had never met him. Checking the information again, Sang Yun's colleague confirmed that Mr. Choi had indeed booked 2 flights to Singapore, but the person traveling with him was not his wife, but his daughter Do Hai. Both were silent for a few seconds. Everyone understood that something was unusual. Sang Yun looked at the doctor, a hint of suspicion in his heart because, even as his colleague passed away, the man could still maintain such a calm expression. Immediately afterward, Sang Yun's police officer phone rang. The person on the other end reported that the suspicious vehicle involved in the kidnapping had been found. He immediately drove with his colleague to the scene where the car was abandoned. His teammate reported that there was a burnt-out phone inside the car, but luckily the SIM card was still intact. When they extracted the data, they discovered that the call history only had 2 numbers. One number was unregistered, and the other belonged to Director Choi. Suspiciously, that call was made after this director had been disciplined. Upon hearing this, Sang immediately ordered the entire investigation team to search the area around the scene, looking for any suspicious footprints, tire tracks, or drag marks. After deploying the force, he requested that engineer Park Chan-W, who was responsible for installing the camera system at the Choi family's villa, be summoned for questioning. The engineer recounted that before the tragedy, Director Choi had called to have the entire camera system removed because he wanted to switch to another company service. He asserted that he was only following the client's request and had no idea what was going on behind the scenes. At this time, Mayan quietly packed up all his belongings and told Do Hai that they needed to move immediately. Before leaving, he carefully tucked the necklace that Do Hai often wore into her backpack. He intended to call his ex-wife to tell her everything, but the phone was still unreachable. Finally, he left a message saying that he would bring Do Hai back today and then go to the police station to turn himself in. He said he wanted to visit his biological daughter Hae one last time before confessing all his guilt and told his wife to take good care of their child. At this moment, Do Hai turned to look at her father with a suspicious expression. She realized he was secretly sending voice messages without even asking if she was hungry. Mi quickly changed the subject, suggesting they go outside for a while, saying they had to stop somewhere else before eating. Outside the hospital gate, while waiting for her father to go inside, Do Hai overheard 2 people sitting on a bench discussing fake rashes. They were discussing the horrific crime that had just been discovered at a villa where the homeowner couple had been brutally attacked. The little girl shuddered, not expecting the story she heard to be related to her own family. Meanwhile, Mayan rushed to the hospital to find his biological daughter, Hai A. But when he arrived at the hospital room, he was shocked to see the bed empty. Hai A was nowhere to be found. He frantically ran through the wards, calling out his daughter's name until he burst into tears. He cried and angrily blamed the hospital staff, claiming that because he hadn't paid the full hospital fees, the hospital had sent his daughter somewhere else. At that moment, the head nurse appeared and gently explained that Hai Ari had only been moved to another room to prepare for surgery. All hospital and surgery costs have been fully paid, and the surgery has even been scheduled for June 5th. She also said that the person who paid was named Mayan. Leaving Mi-Wai Hospital, Mr. Jun understood that he couldn't confess yet. He took Do Hai to a small restaurant and ordered some simple dishes like pork sausage and shrimp. When the food was served, Do Hai wrinkled her nose slightly, saying the pork sausage had a strong, impoverished smell, but she still took a bite and had to admit the taste wasn't too bad. The owner, seeing the father and daughter happy, smiled and praised the little girl, saying she was both pretty and clever, not resembling her father at all. Do Hai nodded in agreement, saying that she herself didn't think she resembled her father at all, but Mom in the picture is very pretty. At this time, Mi Yong-jun received a call from his ex-wife, who Mi Yong-jun angrily asked what had happened to Do Hai's parents. But his ex-wife said she had only just found out from the news. The father said he was taking Do Hai to hide. He had to try to hold out until June 0th. Suddenly, the restaurant owner loudly called out to Mi Yong-jun because Do Hai had fainted. Mi Jun immediately carried Do Hai to the emergency room. The father carried Do Hai to the hospital where his daughter was being treated for emergency care. Afterwards, the nurse asked Mi Yong-jun to register for admission. The father went to the registration counter to fill out the information. When writing the patient's name, Mi Yong-jun decided not to fill in Jo Hai's name but to write his daughter Hai Ari's name instead. The nurse informed the doctor that it seemed the little girl had been abused because there were many bruises on her arms. The doctor immediately ordered the police to be notified. Myung handed the registration form to the staff member and waited for him to enter the data into the computer. Suddenly, the staff member announced that the system was malfunctioning and registration was not possible, and asked Myung to return to the ward. The doctor informed Jun that his daughter was allergic to shrimp, and he didn't know that. The data entry staff member noticed that the information management system was back online, so he re-entered the data into the computer and discovered that patient Hai Ari had already been admitted earlier. Do Hai woke up and said, "I want to go to the bathroom. Dad, get the bag for me." The doctor and nurse thought they were really going to the bathroom, so they didn't follow them. Do Hai led her father into the bathroom, pulled out the foredrip from her arm, and said, "Let's go quickly before the police arrive." At this point, the police had arrived at the hospital. When they saw the police, Do Hai immediately led her father, Myung, and ran away. The police officer was running to chase the two when he was hit by a car, so he couldn't catch up with them anymore. The police officer, Yun, was informed by his subordinates that there was news about Do Hai, so he immediately went to the hospital to investigate. He learned that a man was crying while carrying Do Hai into the hospital. But because they discovered bruises and injection marks on her arm, the nurse called the police. My colleague informed the police officer in Yun. The patient was registered under the name Kim Hai Ari, not Choi Do Hai. Kim Hai Ari is a little girl already hospitalized here, and Hai Ari's guardian is Kim Myung. He brought the girl he kidnapped to the hospital but registered her under the name of his own hospitalized daughter. Is he stupid or something? At this moment, out on the street, Do Hai also asked Mongjun a question. "Last night, while running away from the intruder, I heard Dad call me Do Hai, so I was very curious who you were, right? A kidnapper? So who am I?" Mi ran and said, "My name is Choi." Jo Hai apologized to her. Do Hai, with tears in her eyes, said, "You kidnapper, and you're pretending to apologize? Did you deal with my parents?" Mi Jun said, "That wasn't your doing." Do Hai then ran away, and Mi Jun chased after her. The little girl pleaded, "Please let me go home. I don't remember anything anyway. If you let me go, I'll pretend I didn't see anything." Myung then said, "Let's go home." Myung took Do Hai to the police station to confess, but Do Hai stopped him and said, "I'll go in alone." "Dad, you go ahead. You can go your own way. You said your daughter is about to have surgery. After the surgery, whether you want to confess or be arrested is your right. Just don't get arrested before then." When Mi Yong ran, showing concern for Do Hai, the girl immediately said, "You kidnapper, stop pretending. Go away." Then Myung also left. Do Hai was alone, preparing to enter the police station. Suddenly, she heard the siren of a police car and remembered the night her parents were assaulted. At that moment, a police car with a siren arrived at the house. A police officer asked Do Hai, "What are you doing here?" Mi Hong Jun was walking outside to get some fresh air when the police officer called out to him, so the father quickly ran away. The police officer calmly followed, and unexpectedly Do Hai appeared and called out, "Dad." Myung heard and slowly walked out. Do Hai immediately ran to hug Mi Yong Jun tightly and promised that she would not wander alone again. Then she said goodbye to the police officer. When the police officer had left, Do Hai pushed away her father's arm. Do Hai told Mi Yong Jun that a police car had come to their house the night her parents were apprehended. "Didn't you say my father's family is very rich? Would the police dare to conspire to deal with my father? It must be because some high-ranking official ordered it. Now you have a responsibility to protect my safety." Mi ran loudly and refused the request, saying, "You're going to turn yourself in 10 days. Do Hai then said, "Then you have to take responsibility for keeping me safe and helping me regain my memories for the next 10 days. Do Hai proceeded to draft a written agreement between herself and Mi Jun with extremely strict terms. Mi Jun was not allowed to use violence against Hai, neither verbally nor physically, and had to ensure Hai had enough to eat without missing a single meal. Mi Jun would do her best to protect Doi and obey Jo Hai's opinions 100%. The contract's expiration date was decided by Hai. Mi Jun had to agree unconditionally and sign the agreement. Then, Mi Jun's father reluctantly signed the contract with terms that were all unfavorable to him. When taking Jo Hai out to eat, Mi Jun told her that he had burned the car because it had been caught on security camera. He imitated what he saw in the movie. It burned up instantly. Do Hai immediately asked, "How are we going to get there now? Don't you have a plan to protect me? How could someone like you kidnap me?" Mi quickly replied, "If I'm kidnapped, I'll do it." Do Hai immediately pressed him to reveal who had instigated his father to kidnap him. After a while, Myung Jun confessed it was his father's ex-wife. Do Hai then asked why she chose them when there were so many rich people around. His father found it plausible and also looked very puzzled. Then, because Hai Nang Nak insisted on meeting her uncle's ex-wife, who, at a law firm, a meeting was taking place to discuss who would inherit the enormous fortune of director Choi. The only person who could inherit the entire fortune was Choi Do-hai, who was currently kidnapped. But if she died, who would inherit director Choi's fortune? Only our client, Chairman Choi Dong-jun, who is also director Choi's uncle, remains. Among the lawyers here is lawyer Choi, who tutored Jo-hai a year ago. Police officer Yun and his colleagues went to the hospital where Hai Ari was being treated to investigate her father, Mayan. The nurse told the two police officers that the father hadn't dared to visit often before because he owed a lot of hospital bills. But now he has paid all the hospital bills and the surgery costs, which amounted to 50 million. But when he heard me say that the surgery costs had been paid, he was a little surprised. The police officer from Yun immediately checked the camera footage to see who had paid for Hai Ari's surgery. But he only saw a person wearing a black coat that covered them completely who had paid the hospital bills. Do-hai insisted on going to Seoul to meet Mayan's ex-wife. But his father said there were police everywhere. How could he go? So Do-hai came up with an idea. Mi nervously pinched his nose to distort his voice when calling the police station. But Do-hai said the security cameras wouldn't record his voice anyway. Why distort his voice? Mi and Jun thought it made sense, so they used their real voices to call the police. Music. After finishing the phone call, the police officer informed his colleagues. Someone reported seeing a suspicious man with an 11-year-old girl in the lakeside park. Then, many patrol officers were mobilized to the lakeside park to arrest the suspect. Mi Jun and Jo-hai also rushed to the train station to catch a train to Seoul. But while buying tickets, the patrol police came in to look for kidnappers at this station. Do-hai told them they were only looking for people accompanying children, so he should go alone and act naturally. Then, Do-hai cleverly took a little boy's hand and went inside the station with his mother. Mayan also took the opportunity to run straight to the train station to board the train to Seoul. The police officer, upon hearing from his subordinates that people had seen a man with an 11-year-old girl in the lakeside park, said, "This case hasn't been made public yet, so how did people know and report it? There's a train station nearby, so mobilize all the police to go there." All the patrol officers were mobilized to the station to search, but Jo-hai and Mayan safely boarded the train to Seoul. While on the train, Mayan told Jo-hai, "Your wife left me 3 years ago, but she keeps suddenly appearing and disappearing, so you secretly followed her to see where she was living." Officer Sang Yun and his colleagues reviewed the station's camera footage and saw that Mayan had entered the station before the police arrived. Officer Sang Yun immediately asked his boss to publicize this case in the media. Perhaps the kidnapper didn't assault the girl at all. If the investigation is made public, he won't be able to handle it. While walking down the street in Seoul, Mi Jun and Do saw a news bulletin announcing a search for the kidnapper of Choi Joy. Mi Jun's father's image had also appeared on national television, so the two immediately left quickly. Engineer Park, who had previously installed cameras at Do-hai's house, broke out in a cold sweat and trembled all over upon seeing the news bulletin. A doctor named Maun also watched this news with a rather distraught expression. Later, her secretary informed her that the police department had called to schedule a meeting. Director Mo went to the police station and met with the police officer from Yun to cooperate in the investigation of the case involving Director Choi and his wife. The police officer asked if she and 4 others had transferred 2 billion won into his account before Director Choi was murdered. Director Mo replied that Director Choi was researching a field. The PhDs on this list contributed funding to the research, which is considered just a 20% deposit to buy shares. I studied with Director Choi when we were studying abroad. I really hope his research would be successful, but I didn't expect him to pass away so soon. When the police officer asked what kind of research it was, Director Mo, due to professional principles, did not allow her to disclose it. The police officer went to Yun and continued to show the picture of the person who kidnapped Do-hai. But Director Mo said it was the first time she had seen this face. The police officer asked if the research had anything to do with Do-hai, and Director Mo immediately found an excuse to leave. Then 2 lawyers came to see the police officer from Yun and introduced us as representatives of Director Choi's family. "We came here to file a complaint while the child was still being kidnapped, and you officers publicly disclosed the case, which is seriously damaging the family's reputation." The police officer said that usually in kidnapping cases, family members are very anxious to see their loved ones return, but now they've sent him to represent them. Doesn't any of the girl's family want her to come back? After hearing this, the lawyer immediately led his subordinate lawyer away. Then the police officer went to Yun's office to talk to the boss and the chief. The chief said that Director Choi is an only child. His relatives have already hired lawyers to fight over the inheritance. And for them, The 11-year-old nephew Du Hai is their biggest enemy in the race for the inheritance. Du Hai expressed his displeasure with the police's actions. If my face is revealed to the whole country, who knows what this despicable man will do to me? Mi ran over but still happily fed Du Hai noodles very affectionately. Then he saw his ex-wife coming home. Du Hai boldly went over to call and asked to speak privately with Mong-jun's ex-wife. Hai also brought both of them into the house to talk. Du Hai sat comfortably on the sofa and asked, "Are you the one who planned to kidnap me? Why did you choose my family? Are you the one who dealt with me?" The ex-wife just sneered and sat down to tell Du Hai, "Because my parents wouldn't dare report it to the police. My father is very afraid that his daughter being beaten up will be exposed." Du Hai calmly replied, "If my father was such a well-known person, he would definitely have to deal with the police. These few bruises can be easily covered by saying I bumped into something." The wife then said, "He's truly a genius." When Mr. Jun learned that Du Hai was a genius, he was extremely surprised. Du Hai seemed disbelieving of Hai's explanation and still thought she had dealt with her parents. But Hai continued to explain, "Your father is the director of a very large hospital, so they probably wouldn't want their abuse of their child to be exposed. And the person who planned the kidnapping also dealt with the victim's parents? How could they have received the ransom money then?" After hearing this, Mr. Jun asked, "So you haven't received the money yet? Then who paid the 50 million won for Hai A's surgery?" The wife then took out some money and gave it to Mr. Jun, suggesting, "Let's find a guest house to sleep in for now." But Du Hai said the police have a nationwide manhunt for him, so we have to stay here. The police officer went to Yun and started piecing together the case and realized that Du Hai was seeing the kidnapper as her teammate. Suddenly, a fellow police officer ran in and announced that Mayan had a previous conviction for assault. The next morning, Du Hai woke Mi Jun up to have breakfast cooked by his wife, H. When his wife said she wasn't hungry and that they should eat, Du Hai asked Mi Jun to try some first. After Mi Jun put the food in her mouth, she asked if he felt his tongue retract and his throat constrict. Only after making sure the food was normal did Du Hai decide to eat. Afterwards, his ex-wife Hai E gave her ex-husband some money so they could find another place to hide. When Du Hai said she was also an accomplice, Mi Yong-jun said that since he had planned and carried out everything, one of them should take care of Hai A. After leaving Hai E's house, because Hai still suspected her aunt, she asked Muong-jun to secretly follow Hyen's wife. The two followed Hyen into a coffee shop. There, she met a man. They chatted happily. A while later, they went into a hospital together. Du Hai and Mayan also went into this hospital. After running inside, they found that Hai had gone into the infectious diseases department. Mayan wondered what the infectious diseases department was for. Du Hai immediately replied, "It's for infectious diseases. What else?" The two walked around looking and ran into Hai. Then the three of them sat down to talk. Hai A began to give an alibi to prove that she hadn't harmed Du Hai's parents. On the day her parents were attacked, she was hospitalized here to manage her illness. When Mi Yong-jun asked where she was hurting, his wife immediately said she was being raped. Mi Yong-jun then asked what raped meant. Du Hai explained, "It's a human immunodeficiency virus that will cause S disease, so keep your voice down. Don't embarrass her." Hai's wife then recounted that when Hai Ari was 3 years old, she had a persistent cold, so she went to the hospital for a zero test. That's when she found out she was carrying the virus. She had Hai Ari tested, and the little girl was fine. "I couldn't let Hai get away with it. If this came out, she would be ostracized and shunned by everyone. I'm sorry for abandoning you and your father, but that was the best choice I could make at the time." When Hai asked if she wanted to know anything else, Du Hai said she didn't remember ever being force-fed onions, besides the bruises that looked like she'd been injected multiple times. She said her father couldn't report it to the police. Surely it wasn't just being force-fed onions, right? H also told Du Hai the truth. She was her father's experiment subject after. Hai Ari had leukemia, so she went to every major hospital in the country. She ended up at the hospital where the child's father worked and happened to hear about the Genius Child project. Director Choi had secured a huge investment through that project. She wanted to get that money. She thought that if she could keep the child for a few days, the child's father would surely pay a large sum of money to take the child home. Because he wanted to end the experiment, he needed a grandchild, and he certainly wouldn't dare report it to the police. But unexpectedly, a tragedy occurred and everything got messed up like this. When Du Hai heard this, she immediately burst into tears. Then the wife suggested to Muong-jun, "Let's confess together. If we confess, the police will quickly find the culprit and deal with them faster. Anyway, you dragged me into this because you were too greedy." Mi ran and asked, So who will take care of Hai Ari? No, let's do as we said yesterday. I'll take care of everything because I can't let Hai grow up in an orphanage. Mi ran and took Hai to eat noodles, and the little girl said, I don't believe that woman's words, because if she was telling the truth, I should have remembered something when I heard the story. She's lying. Mayan also wanted to comfort the little girl, so she said, what father would use his daughter as a test subject? Then she gave Du Hai the necklace and said it fell next to her when the accident happened. A little while later, the restaurant owner started watching the news about the kidnapping case where the perpetrator was Kim Mi-young-jun. He had a criminal record for handling people and was also suspected of having harmed Du Hai's parents. The restaurant owner looked at Mi-young-jun to compare him with the picture on the news. The father immediately stood up, took out money to pay the restaurant owner, and hurriedly left. Du Hai then said to the landlady, doesn't he look like a criminal? But that's my dad. Du Hai went outside and asked Mr. Mi-young-jun, did you deal with anyone? Mr. Mi-young explained that it was just an accident. Du Hai then asked Mi-young-jun to swear that he wouldn't deal with her because the survival rate for kidnapped children is very low. Mi-young-jun, I won't do anything to harm you. After hearing this, Du Hai nodded and put a pair of sunglasses and a hat on Mi-young-jun to avoid being recognized by the people around them. The two then sat by a riverbank to enjoy the breeze when a tennis ball flew towards them. A father ran up to ask for the ball back, and then saw Mi-yun looking very suspicious. Music. Du Hai immediately put her arm around Mi-yun and said, Dad, let's go play. The other dad continued playing ball with his son. Du Hai felt very sad seeing so many other dads playing with their children. Music. Mi-yun now expressed his intention to turn himself in, so he explained to Du Hai, we can't go on like this forever. Do you want to sleep rough and eat instant noodles all the time? If you confess, I can cooperate with the police to catch the culprit who attacked my parents. Du Hai became angry and said, if you want to confess, I'll go find the killer myself. Then they both left. The father, who had just picked up the tennis ball, watched the two with a suspicious look. Later, at the police station, a colleague ran to inform Officer Yun. Someone had seen Mayan at the Han River Park. Du Hai was now sulking and walking quickly down the street. Mayan kept following her to try and reason with her. The father told Du Hai not to be so stubborn anymore. Now, wherever we go, we are afraid of being recognized and reported to the police. How can we catch the culprit? Du Hai said with tears in her eyes, now I can only trust you. You want to turn yourself in only because of your daughter. Since you brought me here, you've never cared about me. The little girl sat down and burst into tears. Mr. Jun also sat down and apologized. Since I've been with you, I haven't stopped worrying about you. But I'm afraid I won't be able to help you. But now I promise I will definitely protect you. Du Hai wiped away her tears and said, don't go back on your word. Then she calmly walked away. Officer Sang Yun went to Seoul to review the security camera footage. While Mayan Jun and Jo Hai were at Han River Park, he saw two people walking towards a boulevard. Officer Sang Yun and his colleagues immediately drove to that boulevard to search. After reviewing the security camera footage on that boulevard, they saw that the two people had previously appeared near that area. A group of former police colleagues of Officer Sang Yun came to assist in catching the criminal. But Officer Sang Yun was indifferent because Officer Sang Yun had a past conflict with this officer, which is why he transferred to a rural province to work. Mi-young-run walked away, constantly offering suggestions so that the two of them could find a place to sleep tonight. Du Hai interrupted and said, from now on, only I need to think, you don't need to think at all. Tonight we'll stay at the White Guest House over there. If the two of us go in together, we'll be immediately suspected. You go in first. If you see people watching the news, come back here. And if they're watching a movie, ask to rent a room. Then you go to that window and call me so I can sneak in. Mr. Jun heard this and thought it made perfect sense, so he went inside. Seeing the landlady watching a movie, he asked to rent a room. The landlady just took the money and gave him the room key without even looking at the tenant. Outside, Du Hai picked up a pot of marigolds and remembered her mother saying that looking at flowers would make people happy. Suddenly, a stranger appeared and drugged Du Hai, causing her to lose consciousness. Mi ran to open the window of the rented room but couldn't find Hai anywhere. Her father ran downstairs to look for her and found Du Hai's backpack and broken stick lying on the ground. Mi saw a young man carrying Du Hai away and ran towards him. But unexpectedly, she was surrounded by many police officers. Mi-run immediately attacked the police to run away and save Jo Hai. Suddenly, police officer Sang Yun appeared with a gun and subdued Mi-young-jun. The father saw the stranger who had taken Hai away, so he apologized and chased after the stranger. Mi Run took a motorbike from a man to chase after the car carrying Jo Hai. The police officer from Yun and his colleagues also drove 2 cars to chase after him. Mayan's father drove his motorbike closely behind the stranger's car. Behind them, the number of police cars chasing them was increasing. The stranger drove his car into the opposite lane, causing other cars to collide. The father also swerved his motorbike into the next lane and chased the stranger into an underpass. The police officer, Yun, and his team drove to the entrance of the underpass, but the entrance was blocked, so they couldn't chase after Muong Jun anymore. At this time, the father also chased the stranger to a deserted residential area. Suddenly, the stranger slammed on the brakes, causing Muong to fall right behind the stranger's car. He deliberately reversed the car to crush everything, but Mi Jun quickly dodged to the side. The stranger then got out of the car to fight Mi Jun hand-to-hand. He knocked the father to the ground, then told Mi Jun to go home. The father attacked, but the stranger punched him several times in the face. But Mayan continued fighting the stranger and was knocked down again. Mayan quickly got up to continue fighting the stranger. This time he used his iron headbutt and managed to subdue the stranger, but unexpectedly the stranger inflicted a wound to his stomach. The stranger tried to stab his father with a knife, but Mayan quickly pinned him against the wall and dragged the stranger by the head, smashing the car window and causing both of them to fall. But Muong Jun suddenly sat up and tried to carry Du Hai to safety. Then Muong Jun carried Du Hai across a bridge. Drops of blood began to flow down with each step the father took because he was so exhausted that he let Du Hai lie on his lap. Muong Jun said, "I'm sorry, my child," then burst into tears and fainted. The next morning, Du Hai woke up to find himself in Dr. Mo Yun's laboratory. When Muong Jun opened his eyes, he saw the man he had fought with the night before was there. He led Muong Jun to the room where Dr. Mo Yun was testing Du Hai's brain function. The doctor told Mi Yun that Du Hai only had temporary amnesia. Kim Mi Yun asked if she wanted to harm Du Hai. Then the doctor said, "I was helping the girl." As for the police officer, Yun, he was reprimanded by his boss for causing chaos on the streets of Seoul without catching the kidnapper, which resulted in the police chief being reprimanded by his superiors, and this case will be handed over to the Seoul investigation team. The policeman explained that because the kidnapper was trying to protect Du yesterday, he didn't fire. He gave her exactly 1 week to arrest Muong Jun and find the person who dealt with Director Choi and his wife and bring them back to him. The boss was also moved but only gave Yun 2 days to solve the case. Dr. Mo told Mi Yun that Dr. Choi, Du Hai's father, had researched children's brains. This research has been going on since his father, Chairman Choi, was in charge. This place is considered a fortress for Dr. Choi's research. This research uses biotechnology to develop all brain functions, and it is being done on Jo Hai. Jo Hai's highest IQ is 200, but her brain has the potential to develop even further. The little girl can easily memorize things after just 1 look, possessing superior cognitive and application abilities. Du Hai is a child prodigy in the top 0.01%. Du Hai easily passed the tests of her tutor and also beat him in every chess game. Although Dr. Choi has logged out, this research cannot stop because many people are expecting results from this project. I heard your daughter is in the hospital. We will support her until she recovers and also her future education. Mr. Jun then asked if Hai Ari's hospital bills were paid by her, but the doctor pretended not to know about it. Dr. Mo said, "We only intended to bring Du Hai home, but it seems Du Hai is very fond of you, so we decided to bring both of you here. We don't want Du Hai to experience emotional instability during the experiment, so we will arrange for him to have a peaceful farewell and disappear to somewhere in the world until everyone forgets what he did." At this time, the police officer went to Yun and his colleague drove to the orphanage where Muong Jun used to live as a child to investigate. The pastor said that Mayan was a gentle person and therefore could not have done anything shameless. When the police officer asked about Mayan's criminal record from high school, the pastor said it was just an incident from 20 years ago. At that time, Mayan was participating in the selection for the national judo team. During the competition, Mayan accidentally killed his opponent. When he went to prison, the boy told me that he had dealt with someone and therefore had to suffer the punishment. Unfortunately, after being released from prison, life became even more difficult for him. When he married Hu, I thought he would live peacefully, but I never expected this tragedy. Hai was also Mayan's friend from when they were both in this orphanage. The 2 police officers went home and decided they had to find the wife of Mr. Park to investigate. Later, the police officer received a phone call informing him that they had found the nurse who had worked at Director Choi's hospital 30 years ago, so they both went to meet the nurse to investigate. When they met the nurse, the police officer asked about the death of Engineer Park's pregnant wife 30 years ago. The nurse recounted that 30 years ago, Director Choi's father, Chairman Choi, was not the one who performed the surgery on that pregnant woman. It was another unlicensed doctor who did. Unfortunately, Engineer Park's pregnant wife did not survive the surgery. Engineer Park deliberately sought revenge on Chairman Choi. But the victim of his knife attack was a baby girl, the chairman's daughter. But I don't know how the chairman mediated, but everything was very quiet and he didn't take the little girl to the hospital again. The policeman heard this and immediately asked, "Isn't Chairman Choi the only child, Director Choi? The one who was attacked in the case where the couple was dealt with at that villa?" When the two police officers left, the nurse insisted that the victim attacked by Engineer Park was a girl, not a boy. "Because I even braided her hair." The two police officers then continued to meet with Engineer Park for investigation. The police officer went to Yun to ask if the knife he had swung 30 years ago had cut the neck of Chairman Choi's child. The engineer said that at that time I was crazy because I had just lost both my wife and child, so I acted wrongly, so I accepted reconciliation and apologized to him. Now I have to go back to work. The two police officers returned to headquarters and met the nurse who came looking for them. The nurse told the police officer who went to Yun that on the day that Engineer Park attacked Chairman Choi's daughter, a pregnant woman at the hospital was infected with S. Chairman Choi tried to cover it up because if this were revealed, no one would dare go to the hospital for checkups anymore. And the knife that Engineer Park swung was a surgical knife that had syrup from patient SS operating room on it. And Chairman Choi's daughter may have been infected, and apparently her name is Hun or something. And Mr. Mayan's wife, Hyun, actually has a scar on her neck, the police officer informed Sang Yun. Previously, Chairman Choi had adopted a little girl named Honorable before adopting Director Choi. Later, police officer Sang Yun immediately ordered his subordinates to search for Hai Yuan's whereabouts. The entire police team set up an ambush outside Hai's house to wait for her to return home. But when Hai returned home, she saw the police waiting for her, so she quickly hid and ran away. Mayan had a very lavish meal with Do Hai, but the little girl seemed indifferent to the delicious food on the table. Mayan then went into the kitchen and made white pancakes with flour that hadn't expired yet. But Do Hai still called this dish disgusting. The old worm took a pancake and wrapped it with the meat and vegetables on the table to give to Do Hai to eat. The little girl took a bite and said it wasn't bad. "Is this a farewell gift? No need to pretend to be happy. I know you have to decide to leave." The old worm then asked, "Have you remembered everything?" Do Hai said she remembered most of it but couldn't remember the day her parents were attacked. "But now I don't want to find the culprit who killed my parents anymore. Before, I wanted to find every way to take revenge. But when I remembered my parents, I didn't want to do that anymore." Mi Yong then took Do Hai to a beach to get some fresh air because she had been holed up in her room reading all day. When Do Hai said this was the first time she had ever touched seawater, Mi Yong immediately hugged her and threw her into the water. Then the two of them had a lot of fun playing on the beach. After a while sitting and applying a compress to Mayan's body, Do Hai told her father, "Dr. Mo's daughter has a developmental disorder, so she's very interested in my father's brain development project. Once I'm no longer of research value, both my uncle and I will become useless in her eyes. And if I ever lose my memory again, don't tell me that I was a child who was once a research subject of my father, and that I wasn't loved by my parents. Keep lying like you did when you were my father." Dr. Mo observed from afar and was informed by her subordinate. The head of headquarters will personally return to Korea. He said it had to be finished before he returned. The doctor immediately ordered Mi Yun to be taken to the boat tonight, and that they should be separated as soon as possible. That evening, Do Hai reviewed the case news at her parents' house and learned that the security company had come and removed all the surveillance cameras before the incident. Just as the little girl closed her eyes, Myung Jun also entered. The uncle was about to say goodbye but noticed that Hai seemed to be recalling some memory. Jo Hai opened her eyes and said that the car that appeared at her house the night of the crime belonged to the security company, not the police. The culprit was an employee of the security company. After hearing this, Mayan immediately suggested to Do Hai that they escape together because the culprit was no longer a police officer. "We must find someone who can help us find the culprit." Do Hai said, "Do you think they will let you and me escape easily? Without me, they will get rid of you right away. There's a broken number 391 sign on the highway about 1.2 kilometers from this villa. When you leave safely, I'll go there to hide. You should come find me there." Then the henchman started putting Mi Yun into the car to take her to the ferry to escape abroad. Sitting in the car, Mi Yun saw that there really was a broken number 391 sign. The henchman drove Mi Yong Jun to the hospital to visit his daughter one last time before crossing the border to go abroad. The nurse also arranged a secret meeting so the father could see his daughter one last time before parting ways. Then the henchman drove Mi Yong Jun to the harbor. He gave Mi Yong Jun a bag full of money so the father could cover his living expenses in another country. Mi Run gave his subordinate a wad of money and asked him to buy a teddy bear for Hai Re after her surgery. Then Mayan boarded the ship. A few minutes after the ship left the dock, Mayan asked the captain to turn the ship back and promised to pay him with the entire bag of money. Suddenly, someone from behind struck Migayan Run hard on the head, causing him to fall unconscious. At headquarters, Dr. Mo discovered that Jo Hai had run away, so she immediately drove off to chase after her. While Hai was driving on the highway, a car blocked her path. A young man in a suit got out of the car, and this was Jen Cho, the director of the X Capital Investment Fund. Jen had previously approached Jo Hai's father, Director Cho, to get investment in the Child Genius project, and then he met Jo Hai. Jen urged Jo Hai to get in the car and go home, but she decided to run down into the grassy field to escape, but was immediately chased and caught by his henchmen. At this time, Dr. Mo also drove up, hugged the little girl tightly, and helped Hai into the car. She ignored whatever Jaden said. When they returned to headquarters, Dr. Mo asked Du Hai not to run away again because he was the hope of mankind. Du Hai immediately retorted, "Are you worried about me or your daughter? If anything happens to him, I won't let you get away with it." Jaden went into the room to meet Dr. Mo. "This guy said he wanted to take Jo Hai away because my company, X Capital, holds the most shares in this project. Withdraw your investment, and I won't do anything to harm you." The doctor was extremely upset when she heard this. At that moment, on the ship, Mayan was tied up in a sack. The sailors on the ship were plotting to steal all the money Mayan Jun had brought with him. The captain said that when the Chinese ship arrived, just give them 3 stacks of money. Then the Chinese ship came close to the ship. These men took out 3 stacks of money and gave them to the leader of the Chinese merchant ship. But the Chinese man said he wanted to receive the whole bag of money before he would accept to dispose of the body lying on the ship. So the two sides prepared to fight each other. At this moment, Mayan also woke up. The large group of Chinese people began to attack the Korean sailors. The captain grabbed the money bag and ran down to the deck. Mayan picked up a stick and tried to untie himself. Then they joined forces to attack the group of sailors from China. The captain, clutching a bag of money, hid under the bridge when Mayan suddenly appeared and demanded that he steer the ship back to Korea immediately. The next morning, Du Hai went straight to Jen and demanded that he bring Uncle Mayan back here right away. "I'm not going anywhere without him. If I don't cooperate, even if you take me to Singapore, it won't prove that I'm a genius child. Do you dare give up such a large sum of money?" Jaden immediately threatened to eliminate Hai if she didn't obey him. Hai calmly replied, "Then deal with me. Every day they inject all kinds of drugs to make my brain grow bigger. I'm so tired. You think you can scare me like this?" At this moment, the subordinate came in to report that Mi Jeon-jun had survived and returned. Jen immediately ordered him to be brought here right away. At this moment, Officer Yun and his colleague also arrived at the harbor to investigate, because according to the security camera footage, Mi had been here last night. Mayan was about to get into a taxi when the police chased after him. The father ran away and dropped his bag of money on the ground. Then they were surrounded by police and had guns pointed at them. Officer Yun started handcuffing Mayan Jun, who was trembling, and escorted her into the car. The henchman was also standing far away watching. When Mayan Jun was in the car, she asked the police for help on the night of the murder, and Du Hai was also there. The girl said that when she left the house, there was a car in front of the door. At first, it thought it was a police car, but then it remembered it was a car from the security company. At that time, it ran out into the alley and fainted, losing all its memories. Later, someone took us to Du Hai's father's villa, and they told me to get on a boat to cross the border into China. The police officer from Yun immediately asked where the villa was, and Migayon Jun said that the highway sign number 300 was actually 391. Music. Suddenly, a truck crashed straight into the police car carrying Migayon Jun. The henchman got out of the truck, took the keys from the police officer from Yun's person to unlock the car, and then led Migayon Jun outside. The police officer, Sang Yun, woke up and pointed his gun directly at the henchman. The henchman immediately rushed forward and attacked the police officer. Then he subdued the police officer, Sang Yun. Mayan trembled, holding the gun pointed directly at the henchman's head and telling him to stop. "Let's go back to Hai." The police officer went to Yun to report to his boss. Music. Du Hai saw Engineer Park at his house on the day of the crime. Mayan asked us for help. He also said he was going to see Doi. The boss was suspicious because he shouldn't believe the kidnapper's story. But Yun said that Mayan Jun seemed very sincere. Engineer Park was checking the security cameras at the hospital when Dr. Yun came over and asked the engineer if he was holding the hospital's camera footage. He said, I think you should show the video of the woman who came to the hospital to meet Director Choi to the police. That woman had an affair with Director Choi. The engineer interrupted and invited the doctor to dinner that evening. Then Engineer Park went to submit his resignation from the security company where he worked. Despite his boss's attempts to stop him, Engineer Park said he wanted to quit to receive unemployment benefits. After that, Engineer Park hid something on his person and went to a Japanese restaurant to meet and have dinner with Dr. Yun. While investigating, Officer Yun and his colleagues were driving around looking for Hai when they received news that Engineer Park had caused a major incident. The police team drove to the Japanese restaurant and found Engineer Park had stabbed Officer Yun, injuring him. The police immediately drew their guns to subdue him, but when they saw the engineer about to stab him again, Officer Yun fired a shot to subdue him. When he saw that Dr. Yun's hand had stopped breathing, Engineer Park finally let go. He was then arrested by the police. The police officer went to Engineer Park's house to search it and found a picture of him with a girl and his pregnant wife. Mi woke up and saw Hai sitting next to her. The little girl immediately asked, "Uncle, you've met the police, haven't you? The culprit has been caught. You'll see a very strange guy downstairs later. I know you want to beat him up, but if you can restrain yourself, then just do it." As they both went downstairs, Jaden introduced himself as a wealthy man who was investing a large sum of money. The little girl told him he didn't need to hold back anymore, that he was the one who had tried to deal with him twice. Then Mayan knocked Jen down to the ground. After that, he asked everyone to go inside to discuss business. Dr. Mo said that Director Choi only left one vial of this virus. We tried to study its components, but its genetic map is too complex, so we don't know the exact composition to reproduce this vial of medicine. Jaden then asked Du-hai if she knew where the document containing the ingredients of this medicine was. The girl said everything was handwritten from her grandfather's time, so it must be somewhere in the house. After hearing this, Jen said they had to go into that house. This is the medicine Du-hai has been using since she was a child. That jealousy map is the manual for creating a genius child. When Du-hai returned to her room to look for information about her parents' case, she discovered that Jen had ordered the internet cut off. She suspected that Engineer Park was not the culprit who killed her father and thought that his wife, who had some connection to Engineer Park, which is why she sent Uncle Mayan to kidnap her on the very day her parents were attacked. The police officer from Yun began questioning Engineer Park and asked if he had dealt with Director Choi Jinti. Engineer Park admitted that he was the one who had attacked Director Choi. On the day I came to remove the surveillance cameras, I saw Director Choi putting gold coins into a safe, so I became greedy. So the next day, I sneaked into the house. I found out the house and safe passwords through the data from the cameras that had been installed earlier. But the safe only contained strange documents, so I intended to go back. But Director Choi discovered me and attacked me, so I defended myself. But Director Choi's wife was not someone I dealt with. I saw that the lady had already been attacked by someone. I got up and ran outside. Then I grabbed the Japanese sword that was available in the living room. Director Choi kept challenging me and tried to attack me, so I took action against him. The police officer came over and expressed his suspicion that this engineer was dealing with Director Choi only for money, but the engineer said that if he wanted revenge for his wife and children, he would have dealt with Chairman Choi, his father, 30 years ago. As for my attack on Dr. Yun, it was because I recently discovered that he was the unlicensed doctor who performed surgery on my wife and children 30 years ago. The policeman showed me the picture and asked if I knew this Ms. Hu. Her husband is the one who kidnapped Director Choi's daughter on the day he was attacked. Engineer Park immediately said he knew nothing about this. Director Choi is a well-known wealthy man, so it's normal for someone to try to kidnap his daughter. At this time, Jen went to a construction company to meet Director Choi's uncle. The subordinate said that this uncle was the next person after Du-hai to inherit Director Choi's assets. He's hiring a law firm to secure his inheritance. Jen walked into the firm and directly asked the old man if he wanted to inherit the 120 billion won fortune of Director Choi. The old man replied that it was his brother's property, Chairman Choi. That Choi Jinte is just an adopted son, and now that property is about to be handed over to his 11-year-old daughter, how can I sit idly by? And who are you? Jaden also asked if he would only be legally entitled to inherit if Du-hai were declared dead. Then a subordinate came to A. The casino was looking for the name of the merchant shipowner who had just transported Mayan Jun across the border. The lawyer asked the sailor to tell the police that a stranger had thrown Du-hai's body into the sea. Our legal team will take care of his release. Later, the sailor was arrested and the media reported that Du-hai had been thrown into the sea by the kidnapper. Mi Jun was very surprised when she was accused of throwing Du-hai into the sea. She calmly asked Mi Yong Jun, "Who would be happiest if I log out?" Mi Jun then said that Do Hai asked the funeral home at what age his intelligence developed. Do Hai called Mi Yong Jun closer and whispered in his ear, "Tell the doctor to buy you some medicine." Mayan also went to ask the doctor to buy some wound disinfectant. While the doctor went to get the medicine, Do Hai took her phone. Then, remembering the unlock pattern she had seen before, she unlocked Dr. Mo's phone. Do Hai used the phone to read the news and learned that Jen had conspired with her father's uncle to announce her death in order to inherit the entire family fortune. A while later, Dr. Mo entered and found Hai gone. Do Hai led Mayan down to the basement to find a secret phone that his father used to use. Mi Yong Jun proceeded to call him. Lawyer Choi was also Jo Hai's tutor. Mi Yong Yun said, "I'm holding you here captive. Pay off all of Director Choi's family assets and prepare 30 billion won if you're worried about Do Hai." The lawyer discovered that Do Hai was the one who orchestrated this, so he asked to speak to Do Hai, spoke to his former teacher, and persuaded the teacher to help him. "Tell your father's uncle that the kidnapper has demanded a ransom. If he doesn't pay, you will let the whole world know that you are still alive." The boss informed the police officer from Yun that he would transfer this kidnapping case to the police in SE for handling. But the police officer from Yun was determined to investigate to the end because there were still many unanswered questions. The boss said he had found the culprit and dealt with the person. The kidnapper had also thrown Do Hai into the sea. He said, "You should close this case smoothly and then worry about getting promoted." Then the colleague informed that Mizu had gone to the police station, so the police officer from Yun went to see her, who told the police officer that she had been busy and hadn't been able to answer the police's calls in the past few days. Then she showed the police officer from Yun the scar on her neck, who admitted that she was the child who was attacked by Engineer Park with a knife in the past. At that time, Chairman Choi tried to treat me. I was in the hospital for a year. Later I found out that the knife that our Engineer Park Vung had the blood of patient S on it. Chairman Choi, my father, who was a leading expert in gene therapy at the time, tried his best to treat me. But when I returned home after the treatment, a strange boy was in my room, and it was Choi Jin-tae. Then Chairman Choi also cancelled my adoption to raise that Director Choi instead, because I didn't meet the requirements in his brain experiment. Actually, Chairman Choi adopted many children and then abandoned them like me. Children who didn't show any results in the experiment were all cancelled from adoption. Is it possible that Director Choi is still conducting his father's experiment now? The police officer asked when she and Engineer Park met again, and H said that he always felt guilty towards her because he thought it was because of him that Chairman Choi cancelled the adoption of her. Mr. Park continuously sent money to support her until she graduated from high school, and then they lost contact. Until my nightmare returned 3 years ago, I discovered that the virus had resurfaced in my body. I felt hatred towards everything, including my child. Just when I thought I had to give up everything, I saw on the news that Chairman Choi, who had adopted me, had passed away at the age of 83 and was hailed by the media as a hero of the country's medical field. I also went to his funeral to pay my respects because, after all, he was the first person I called Dad. Then I met Uncle Park again at this funeral. When he learned that the virus had returned to my body, Uncle Park felt even more guilty towards me, but it's been a long time since he contacted me. The policeman asked if she knew that her husband Mayan had thrown Doi into the sea. When she heard this, she became agitated and couldn't believe that her ex-husband would do such a thing. The policeman asked her what she did on the day that Director Choi and his wife were prosecuted, who said that day I was hospitalized to test a new drug to control S. After taking the statement, the police officer went to Yun and also saw Han off. Director Choi's uncle led Jaden into the house where the crime had occurred at his request. Jaden searched the house hoping to find Director Choi's gene map document. Earlier, Jaden had promised to help if Hai declared dead. In return, he wanted to possess all the research documents in this house. A little later, the chairman received a call from Lawyer Choi, so he immediately told Jen to leave. Lawyer Choi told the chairman, "The kidnapper is demanding 30 billion or he will announce on social media that Hai is still alive. Because I used to be Joy's teacher, that's why he called me." Jaden asked what the kidnapper's voice sounded like, and the lawyer said it was a woman's voice. And before that, Jo Hai had instructed the lawyer to tell Jen that the caller demanding ransom was a woman. When Mr. Jun went outside, he saw Hai reading the news online and asked if she had internet access. She said she secretly took Dr. Mo's phone to create a Wi-Fi hotspot. The fact that she hasn't turned it off yet means she's allowed me to go online. Then Do Hai went into the room to meet Dr. Mo to invite her to cooperate. Do Hai said that if Jaden brought me to Singapore, her son would be immediately removed from this project. Dr. Mo said she couldn't prevent that because since the boy's father passed away, Jen has been the biggest shareholder in this project. Jo Hai immediately said, "I have a plan to stop that Jen guy from getting what he wants." At this moment, the henchman and Jen unexpectedly returned. Jiden used a bottle to hit Mayan Jun hard on the head. Jo-hai and the doctor immediately ran out to Jen, pointed a gun at Mayan Jun's head, and asked if he had any accomplices in this kidnapping. Today your wife went to the police station to cooperate with the investigation. Before that, a woman called to demand ransom money from Hai. Mayan said, I was locked up here all day and had no phone to contact anyone. Suddenly, the henchman brought out the phone he found in the basement. Jen then beat Mi Yong until he trembled and asked if your wife was the mastermind behind this. I heard she knew the person who dealt with Director Choi before. She also knows about the Genius Child Project. Is she the mastermind behind everything? Mi ran and said that Hai had nothing to do with this. Jayan immediately loaded his gun, intending to kill Mayan. Fearing that Jayan would kill her, Hai told him that his uncle's wife had left for several years and then suddenly returned and asked him to kidnap her to get money for their daughter's surgery. So this foolish uncle complied with her request. Mr. Jun immediately asked Hai to stop talking because Hai had to stay alive to take care of Hai. When Jen continued to ask if Hun was the one who called demanding ransom, Mr. Jun warned him that if he touched H, he wouldn't let it go. Jen walked away, then turned back and said, I won't forgive anyone who hinders my business. Du-hai entered the room and asked Myong Jun, does your wife really know the security officer who handled my father? Could it be that those two are having an affair? Myong immediately said she didn't know about that. But how did Jaden know that Hai-e went to see the police and even know the entire content of the investigation? Du-hai said it must be because of a spy, but if the police are monitoring Hai, they won't dare do anything to her. Dr. Mo got into her car to go home when Jen appeared and asked if her daughter's name was Bea. He warned Dr. Mo that if she didn't cooperate to make his project successful, her daughter wouldn't be cured and might even become an orphan. The next morning, Jen and his henchmen were in the car following her, but they found that she was also being secretly followed by the police in all her movements. The police officer went to Yun's hospital to investigate. The reason why Engineer Park attacked Dr. Yun was because the two nurses said that Dr. Yun was quite talkative and nosy, so few people talked to him. Whenever Engineer Park came to fix the cameras, Dr. Yun would often strike up a conversation with him. Dr. Yun also frequently spoke ill of Director Choi, even claiming that Director Choi was having an affair with another woman. As for Lawyer Choi, he secretly went to the house and recorded images of Mi Jun and Du Hai in the villa where they were staying. He then reported to the chairman that the kidnapper had sent a video. The lawyer showed this video to the chairman and Jaden. The chairman was extremely angry when he saw the video. The lawyer said they used an overseas email service to send this video to me. At this time, Jen's soldier was monitoring and saw President Mo having a medical examination at her hospital, and who was going to the restroom. Then the lawyer received a call from the blackmailer and it was indeed a woman's voice. The henchman used GPS to find that the call was from Russia. The blackmailer demanded that 30 billion be put into garbage bags and dumped at 5 different locations by tomorrow night. At this time, Hai had just come out of the restroom, so she wasn't the one who called. The blackmailer continued, after receiving the money, we will release Du. Jaden laughed loudly and showed his disapproval of the request, so the blackmailer sent a link to Lawyer Choi's email. This proved she had uploaded a video showing Jo-hai still alive to an online video sharing site. The blackmailer claimed that Director Choi's uncle had fabricated Jo-hai's death, and your investment fund, X Capital, wants to acquire Jo-hai Hai in secret. Spending 30 billion to keep this secret is too cheap a price to pay, so decide whether or not to, or the views will increase immediately. When Jaden said okay, the video was deleted immediately, and the person who called to blackmail was President Mo. Because she was playing music for her patients, the chairman was furious because he had persuaded the high-ranking police officers to prevent them from investigating Du Hai's case. We've already announced it to the media, and if this comes out now, I'll lose face. Then he hit Jaden and told the lawyer to correct the information to the media. Jen grabbed the chairman's hair and slammed his hand down on the table repeatedly. I'll handle this myself. You better figure out how to raise the 30 billion by tomorrow, you damn old man. Then Jaden announced that he had borrowed the 30 billion to give to the blackmailer. When the chairman asked what would happen if it failed, Jen said, if it fails, I'll bring Du Hai's corpse back here for you. That evening, Jo-hai gave a lunchbox to the bodyguard guarding her and asked him to deliver it to Migai and June. Since he ate 2 lunchboxes before feeling full, the bodyguard also delivered the lunchbox to Migai and June underneath the rice. He found a phone and a business card belonging to the police officer, Yun. And earlier, Chairman Mo had given these things to Jo-hai. Jaden ordered his henchmen to gather all the bodyguards guarding the villa where Du Hai was staying. They had to capture the extortionist at all costs. Then, Many bodyguards got into cars and left the villa where Du-hai was staying. Jaden and his men transported the bags of money to 5 designated dumping sites as requested by the extortionist, Eret Music. While Dr. Mo was going down to the underground parking garage at her hospital, Lawyer Choi appeared and called her name. A van carrying money started driving to the locations where the bags of money were placed, and then loaded the bags full of money onto the van one by one. The henchman then ordered them to stop the van after it finished collecting the money at location number 5. At this moment, at the villa, Myung-jun also received a phone call from Dr. Mo, urging him to act immediately. His father deliberately stirred up the room to allow the bodyguards to enter. They entered with guns and found Myung preparing to fight. Since Hai had now cut off the power, Myung-jun seized the opportunity to fight the armed bodyguards with his bare hands. Then, victorious, he came out and celebrated with Du-hai. Now, the garbage truck driver had finished collecting all the sacks of money. Then, Jen's bodyguards blocked his way and repeatedly beat the garbage truck with batons. One of the bodyguards opened the car door, and the garbage truck driver stepped out with a gun. It turned out that this driver was actually the police officer from Yun. One man was about to attack the police officer from behind with a club when many police officers emerged from a garbage truck and pointed their guns at Jen's bodyguards. Officer Yun fired a warning shot into the air and ordered everyone to drop their weapons. The close associate was also arrested as there was no way to escape. At this moment, on the highway, Dr. Moeng was driving when a car overtook her and then blocked her path. Jen got out of the car and said, "Finally, we've found out who the culprit is." He pointed his gun directly at Lawyer Choi, and Dr. Mo. Jen told Dr. Mo, "Although you betrayed me, you still have to find out the ingredients of the drug that Joe Hai was injected with, so I'll let you live for now. But this trainee lawyer is out of the question." Suddenly, Mi-jun fired a shot that grazed Jen. Jen also pointed a gun at Mi-jun. Du-hai immediately grabbed a gun and gave it to Lawyer Choi to subdue Jen. Jen raised his hands in surrender, and the doctor immediately confiscated his gun. Mi ran and said that tomorrow both you and I have to go to the police station to confess. I don't know exactly what your purpose is, but from now on, Du-hai is no longer anyone's test subject. Jaiden asked if you know how much money Director Choi received from my investment fund for this experiment. If you get rid of me, you won't get away with it either. Mayan asserts that from now on, Du-hai will live like a normal 11-year-old girl. That's the only thing this kidnapper uncle can do. Then Myung-jun ties up Jen, puts him in the trunk of a car, and tapes his mouth shut. The lawyer asks everyone to go to a motel he knows. Dr. Mo feels conflicted because she doesn't want the world to know that Hai is a genius child created through experimentation. Investors might not leave her alone, but Bai can't let her remain a test subject forever. The police officer goes to Yun to question Jaden's henchman, but he refuses to say anything. The police officer walked in and said that the bags of money thrown in the yard only contained a few stacks of cash. The rest were all blank papers. Since the henchman didn't say a word, the police officer from Yun didn't question him further. And before that, Mayan had called the police officer from Yun to ask for his help in arresting Jaden's henchman so that she and Johai could escape. Mi-jun also warned that there seemed to be a spy within the police force. Tomorrow, after my daughter's surgery, I will go to the police station to turn myself in. At dawn the next day, Dr. Mo went to her car and intended to release Jen. Because the doctor did not want Director Choi's experiment to be revealed to the whole world, Mi-jun immediately appeared and stopped Dr. Mo. The doctor repeatedly explained that she had to prevent Dr. Choi's research from being published. He didn't want Du-hai to be scrutinized for the rest of her life, did he? Then Mi-jun said, "I have to take Jaden to the police, so you should leave first." Dr. Mo drove away, remembering that her daughter had once been asked by her teacher to transfer to another school, because Bon is developmentally delayed compared to her classmates. That's also why Dr. Mo invested in Director Choi's experiment, hoping her daughter could develop a normal brain like other children. Meanwhile, at the police station, Officer Yun's investigation team was raided by Officer Son's group, who confiscated all their documents. When the police officer from Yun arrived, his former colleague told him to come and take over the kidnapping case. The higher-ups have ordered a halt to this investigation. This is a directive from the police chief. The police officer explained to the chief that they had caught them red-handed bringing a large sum of money to cover up the fact that Du-hai was still alive. Mayan reported this to me. He even promised to bring Hai here to turn himself in after his daughter's surgery is over. I'll bring them here today. Please trust me just this once. The chief warned that if you don't bring Mayan and Johai back here, be prepared to take off your uniform. Then Jen's henchman arrogantly led his gang away. Mi ran and borrowed Lawyer Choi's phone to call his ex-wife, who, to ask her to come to the hospital to see how Hai's surgery was going. He would also go there and settle everything today. If she didn't come, she wouldn't be safe with him. Jen was put in a car to go with Mayan to the hospital. Jo Hai asked lawyer Choi to buy Mayan a decent suit to wear when meeting his daughter. While trying on the suit, the saleswoman looked at Mayan and Jo Hai and found them very familiar. Jo Hai then said, "That man is definitely the kidnapper." The man trembled as he explained, "I'm on my way to turn myself in." This made the female employee tremble and lose her balance. Dr. Mo entered the hospital to work and found her daughter brought there by Jen's henchman. The henchman asked Dr. Mo to call them immediately. Meanwhile, the three of them were having a meal at a restaurant when lawyer Choi received a call from Dr. Mo asking where the three of them and Jaden were. Dr. Mo wrote down the address on a piece of paper and gave it to her subordinate. Then he left his daughter with Dr. Mo and departed. Do Hai said, "Dr. Mo is still hung up on the Jaden case, isn't she? Can you defend this kidnapper, uncle? Since you're my defense lawyer, please find a better lawyer than yourself to defend him. I'll pay you whatever amount it takes." The lawyer calculated the amount of money Do Hai could receive as inheritance at 120 billion. Upon hearing this, Mi Yong-jun immediately stood up. Do Hai asked, "How much money do you want to ransom me?" Mi Jun replied, "I only need 50 million. That's all I need to cover Do Hai's surgery." The lawyer showed Jo Hai the contents of Director Choi's email and noticed that Jo Hai's father had created a cryptocurrency account in Singapore at the same time Director Choi met Jen. It's possible that Director Choi received a large sum of money from Jen's ex-capital investment fund. The police officer, Yun, and his team were preparing to go to the hospital to wait for Hai Ari's surgery before taking Muong Jun back to the police station. Sang Yun assured his boss that Muong Jun would cooperate silently. The henchman drove to the basement of a shopping mall and found Jen lying in the car. He smashed the car window to open the trunk. The henchman pointed a weapon at Jen's throat and pulled the trigger, but the gun was out of ammunition. He then connected Jaden to the boss. The mysterious boss demands that Jen obtain Director Choi's experiment report and bring his daughter back. The experiment's product must be brought here before the Russian ship arrives. Otherwise, the next time the trigger is pulled, the gun will have bullets. Jen says that if the research results are available, Hai won't be needed anymore, but the boss says the first child will make history. At this time, at the hospital, little Hai A was also taken into the operating room under the supervision of the police officer. Mr. Jun was about to take the elevator down to the basement when he saw teddy bears being sold outside, so he said he wanted to go out and buy one to give to Hai A, and I would wait outside. In the elevator, Hai told Mr. Choi, the lawyer, "I can't remember anything about the 20th of the month before my parents were prosecuted, although I remember everything very clearly since I was kidnapped on the night of the 21st. Do Hai had a terrible headache. Suddenly, the henchman came and stabbed lawyer Choi. Me trembled, holding two teddy bears, waiting outside. But because he waited too long, he went down to the basement. The henchman urged me Hai to hurry up and carried her away. Mayan ran down to the basement and found the lawyer injured on the ground, so he took the lawyer's phone to call for emergency services. Mayan ran to find Hai but was hit by a henchman driving straight into him. Jen tried to use a gun to kill Mayan Jun but failed, so he got out of the car to try to eliminate Mayan Jun. Then, the father attacked him, disabling his gun and breaking one of his arms. The henchman was about to stab Mayan with a knife, but Mayan managed to grab it. However, the henchman then knocked Mayan to the ground. He stomped on the father's foot, but then heard the ambulance approaching, so he helped Jen into the car and drove away with Do Hai. The police officer, Sang Yun, and the mother, who waited outside the operating room. Then the doctor came out and announced that the surgery was completed successfully. The police officer asked who if Mi Jun had called her, who said that he had called her earlier and asked her to come to the hospital to see how the surgery was going. The police officer dialed the number Mi Jun had used to contact his wife and learned that lawyer Choi was being treated at the hospital. Jaden and his henchmen brought Doi back to the base and said they would hand her over to the Russians. The police officer from Yun and his colleagues sadly returned to the office because they couldn't bring Mayan Jun back. The boss announced that there would be a disciplinary meeting tomorrow. "You should rest," he said. When he got home, he found Mayan Jun's husband sitting in the house. She bandaged her ex-husband's wounds and announced that Hai Ari's surgery went smoothly. Mi ran, saying that Hai had already been arrested. He thought he would see Hai go into the operating room, then go to the police to confess and end everything. His wife said, "Tomorrow, I'll go with you to visit Hai Ari, then you can go confess." Mi then asked Jun what her relationship was with the man who dealt with Do Hai's father. He explained, "He's the one who caused the scar on my neck, but I didn't instigate him to do it. Tomorrow he'll go see Hai and then turn himself in, but Mi Yong-jun said he had to go find Hai." The police officer, Yun, decided not to rest but continued to the scene where Director Choi and his wife were attacked to investigate. Then he discovered something behind the cabinet. The police officer broke through the wooden panel and found a lot of documents inside. Sang-Yun gathered a box of documents related to Jo-hai and put them in the car. Then he went to the National Forensic Institute to ask his acquaintance, who worked there, to analyze the documents to see what they meant. The next morning, Mi woke up to find a note left by his wife, who, asking him to go to the hospital. Mi trembled as he tried to grab the medical kit to change the bandage on his wound, but he dropped the kit on the ground. Then they discovered a hard drive under the cabinet. Mi ran out the hard drive and found out it contained CCTV footage from Director Choi's house from around the time before the crime occurred. The forensic sister woke up Officer Yun and said that this was research documentation from the time of Chairman Choi, Director Choi's father. It's true that the chairman researched ways to amplify brain functions. Chairman Choi injected a genetically modified virus into the brains of test subjects, so he pretended to adopt Hai for the experiment. He also had a naturally intelligent child, with an IQ of 152. Because many researchers were trying to stop Chairman Choi from continuing this experiment, he decided to adopt a naturally intelligent child to be his successor. But Director Choi's research stopped when Do-hai was 2 years old. It's possible he hid this research document elsewhere. Perhaps the kidnapping and prosecution occurred because he wanted to obtain this document. But even before Han, another child had been adopted by Chairman Choi. The police officer, upon reviewing the documents, learned that it was Mi Jun, and previously, Mayan was the first child that Chairman Choi adopted from the orphanage. But when the driver returned to Chairman Choi's house, he discovered a little girl from the orphanage hiding in the trunk of the car, and this little girl was who Chairman Choi intended to ask the driver to take her back to the orphanage, but the little girl knelt down and begged and cried. Then Chairman Choi let both children into the house. But the girl, who proved to be more cunning and devious, trying to convince me that she was the one who needed to be adopted more. The children at the orphanage also liked him more than me. But then Chairman Choi announced that he would only adopt one of the two children. The chairman gave both of them an intelligence test. Whoever scored higher would stay here with him. The chairman started the timer and then went outside for a while. After the bell rang signaling the end of the test, who quickly copied his test paper from Myong Jun, and both of them submitted their papers to Chairman Choi. Then Mayan was taken back to the orphanage by the driver. At this time, Hai Video called Mi Jun to show her father a picture of Hai Ari still unconscious after the surgery. Then she told Mi Jun to come and see his daughter and turn himself in to end everything, leaving the investigation to the police. Mi ran, looked at the hard drive, and a tear fell as she asked to see Hai-A's face. Then she said, "I need to check something first." Jen, with a bandaged hand, went to see Dr. Mo. He gave her a USB drive containing 10 billion in virtual currency so that she would no longer be an investor in this experiment. The doctor brought back the USB and told him not to remove her daughter from this project. If he did, he and the entire X Capital Investment Fund would fall into ruin. Jaden announced that Hai would no longer be in Korea. "Call me when you've thought it over." He went outside and met with the police officer from Yun who was coming here to investigate. Jaden calls his subordinate. Dr. Mo refuses to withdraw the investment, so you should deal with her. The police officer goes to Yun's room and asks Dr. Mo if the Genius Child Project and the kidnapping are related. But Dr. Mo refuses to disclose anything and asks if you have any questions, contact her lawyer. Then she said she was busy to subtly get the police officer to leave. Sang Yun began facing the disciplinary committee for being convicted of disrupting the investigation process. As a result, she was suspended from work for 1 month and had her salary reduced for 3 months. As Sang Yun left, a subordinate police officer gave her a bag containing a listening device. When he returned home, he found that the hard drive he had hidden under his cupboard was gone, so he immediately went outside and called Mayan, but instead ran into Officer Sang Yun. The officer asked Huan to come and meet Engineer Park. The officer drove Hu to the jail to meet Engineer Park. Afterwards, Sang Yun went outside so the two could talk freely. At this moment, at the police station, the boss, while having lunch with his subordinate, asked, "Did you give the listening device to Sang Yun? Where is he now?" At this point, Officer Sang Yun went outside and put on his earphones to listen to the conversation between Hu and Engineer Park. H burst into tears and inquired about Engineer Park's health. After a while, Engineer Park asked, "Now that it's just the two of us here, tell me the truth." According to the police, the safe near Director Choi's house was empty. H looked down and saw the reflection of the flashing red light from the listening device, realizing that she was being eavesdropped on. At this point, the supervisor appeared and asked to end the meeting. "I heard you're being disciplined. I'll report this to the higher-ups." Then, my fellow police officer also appeared. Mi ran to an internet cafe to check the CCTV footage from Director Choi's house on the hard drive. At this time, A group of young people were watching inappropriate videos, so the internet cafe employee reminded them to stop. A little while later, the employee saw that the rowdy kids he had just reprimanded had completely destroyed the keyboard, so he immediately called the police. Mi ran to check the camera footage and saw that Hai had entered Director Choi's house months ago. Then the police came in, so Mayan grabbed the hard drive and rushed outside. When she reached the gate, she ran into a police officer. The police officer recognized Muong Jun and chased after him, but the father managed to evade the officer's gaze and safely left. The fellow officer took Sang Yun to the hospital to visit Lawyer Choi, who had just regained consciousness. Sang Yun wanted to go in alone to see Lawyer Choi. The police officer wanted to question the lawyer about the experiment that Director Choi had conducted on Du Hai, but the lawyer said he knew nothing about Director Choi's experiment. Unable to extract any more information, the police officer went outside. The lawyer then pleaded with the police officer to try to find Du Hai at all costs. Mi ran to Hai Ari's house but saw the police lying in ambush below, so he left. The chairman informed Jen that the police would soon close the case. When he asked if Hai had been found yet, Jaiden told him to just assume she no longer existed. It won't cause you any more trouble. Then the chairman gave Jaiden the key to Director Choi's house so he could freely search the house for the research documents. Chairwoman Mo left the hospital and was about to get into her car to go home when a thug drugged her. He left the doctor in the car and was about to light a charcoal briquette, but Mi appeared just in time. Jaiden entered Director Choi's house to search it. Looking at the family photo, he noticed that Choi was wearing a rather mysterious necklace. Just then, the police officer arrived. Jen immediately showed off the house key and said he was a business partner of the director, claiming that his family had given him the key. Jen said, "We invested a huge amount of money in Director Choi, but now he's gone. I feel so sorry for him, so I came here just to watch." Then he left. The police officer who went to Yun just received a call from a colleague reporting the news. Mi was found at an internet cafe. He only looked at the data on the hard drive and then left. Dr. Mo wakes up in her car and realizes she was just saved by Mayan. She then proceeds to stitch up Mayan's hand wound. Dr. Mo says that Jen came to see her this morning and demanded she withdraw her investment, which she refused, so he sent someone to deal with her. Dr. Mo tells him to stop now. Anyway, his daughter's surgery is over. But Mi Yong Jun said, "I promised to protect Jo Hai, so I have to find that bitch." Jen went home, entered the room where Du Hai was being held, and examined the necklace around her neck. Then he confiscated the necklace. He went outside and ordered his subordinate to take Hai to the harbor tomorrow. The branch staff in Russia will arrive tomorrow to receive the goods. President Mo took the phone of the thug who had attacked her and used his fingerprint to unlock it. She read the messages and learned that they would be taking Du Hai to the port to go abroad tomorrow. The police officer from Yun went to the hospital to find Chairman Mo, but the staff member said she was in her office. At this time, Dr. Mo and Muong Jun were also preparing to go to the harbor when someone knocked on the door of the office. Dr. Mo opened the door and tried to get the police officer from Yun to leave. But the police officer wanted to know why Jaiden was also an investor in Director Choi's experiment. Who is he anyway? Then the police officer went straight inside. When he turned around, he saw Mayan reaching for the car keys, so the police officer chased after her. Mayan ran down to the basement and drove away in President Mo's car. Police officer Yun also drove after her. The subordinate told Du Hai to leave, but she said she was hungry and wanted to eat shrimp fried rice. Jen was about to drive to the harbor when a white car blocked her way. Hun got out of the car and approached Jaiden. While talking, Hun revealed to Jaiden that she was an orphan whose adoption had been cancelled by Director Choi's father. She then showed him a video taken from Director Choi's death certificate, documenting his experiments on Joy. And in Director Choi's K-series computer, there was also camera footage showing Jen coming to the house to ask Director Choi to allow X Capital to invest in this experiment, who said, "Before Engineer Park was arrested, he sent me one last hard drive." The data on the hard drive showed Director Choi's wife taking Joy's necklace, opening it with a small key, and plugging the USB drive from the pendant into the computer. Director Choi discovered this and even attacked his wife. Jen, upon hearing this, realized that Director Choi's research documents were hidden inside the pendant. She demanded that Jen give her $10 million, and in return, he would receive the key that could unlock Jo Hai's pendant. Jen took the cable to an electronics repair shop for inspection, and indeed, there was a small USB drive inside. However, the shop owner said it could only be unlocked with a key. Any external force would erase all the data. The henchman brought Du Hai a portion of rice to eat. The little girl picked out the shrimp from the fried rice and put them in her mouth. At this time, The Russian man's yacht also docked at a Korean port. He then received a phone call from his subordinate informing him that he would bring the little girl to the port immediately after she finished eating. Suddenly, he heard a noise in the room and rushed in to find Hai convulsing and with red rashes on her neck due to an allergic reaction. He immediately carried the little girl into the car and decided to go to the hospital to get Do Hai emergency treatment. Mi ran to the harbor and searched everywhere for Do Hai. Officer Sang Yun appeared and chased after Myong Jun closely. The officer was about to take out his handcuffs but remembered he had been suspended from duty. Myong explained that he should have turned himself in, but they had kidnapped Do Hai instead. They also intend to deal with Dr. Mo. They're planning to take Jo Hai abroad from this port. The police officer heard this and called Mi Wai and Mr. Run. Quick, let's go find Hai. Sang Yun immediately called his colleague for help. Sang Yun asked his police friend to call the customs office to see if any private yachts had docked at the port today. The boss immediately snatched the phone and told Sang Yun not to act on his own anymore. Sang Yun explained that Director Choi had another investor. They were trying to get Do Hai abroad. Please help me find her. The boss was very hesitant after hearing this. At this time, H went to the bank to withdraw all of Engineer Park's unemployment benefits, because Engineer Park had previously sent him a card that could withdraw this amount of money. Then Hu took the money to a private detective agency to hire 2 men there to help him with something. At the hospital, the henchman answered the phone and informed the Russian client that they were bringing Do Hai to the emergency room. When the girl is stable, we'll take her to the harbor right away. Mr. Jun and the police officer searched the entire harbor but couldn't find Hai anywhere. Then, Yun received a call from his boss informing him that a yacht from Russia was docked at the marina. Both of them went to the marina and saw a Russian man standing on a yacht. Sang Yun went to the yacht and asked the Russian man if he was waiting for Jen. The Russian man pulled out a gun, and Sang Yun snatched it away. Then he asked where Do Hai was. Jen called and scolded her subordinate for daring to take Do Hai to the hospital. But the subordinate promised not to let anyone notice the girl and hung up. The nurse came and asked the man to register Hai. When the henchman left, Do Hai woke up. She took a syringe and 2 vials of medicine and left the hospital. Do Hai saw a delivery truck parked outside. The police officer from Yun was informed by the Russian man that Do Hai was at the hospital, so they both got into the truck to go to the hospital to search for her. The henchman returned to the hospital bed but couldn't find Do Hai, so he ran to look for her. At that moment, Do Hai was hiding on a delivery truck. Then, the truck drove past the henchman. He immediately stormed into the security room and ordered the staff to show him the surveillance camera footage from the parking lot. Jen put the suitcase full of money into the trunk of the black car to deliver to Hai as requested. I then appeared and checked to see if the suitcase contained the full $10 million, then gave Jaden the memory card containing footage from the lab at Director Choi's house and the key to unlock the pendant. Jen demanded a quality check of the exchanged goods before letting Hun go. He used a key to unlock the pendant. When Hai left, he pulled her back, wanting to check if the contents contained documents belonging to Director Choi. Suddenly, the fire alarm went off. A man had deliberately activated the fire alarm in the shopping mall. Hu bit Jaden's hand and escaped, and the car with the suitcase of money was already driven away. The bodyguard blocked the car from the front, but Hu drove away right behind him. This was because Tham Tutu had previously changed the license plate of the car carrying the suitcase of money and put Hu in it. Jen went up to the front, pointed a gun at the driver, and checked the trunk, but the suitcase of money was gone. Then the father asked the driver, "Who gave you the order?" The police officer in Yun received a call from his colleague informing him, music, that the subordinate had entered the hospital security room and assaulted someone to demand to see the camera footage. Meanwhile, Do Hai had sneaked onto a medical waste disposal truck. Currently, this vehicle is heading to a garbage dump, so the police officer immediately goes to the garbage dump. As Do Hai stepped out of the truck, the henchman also drove up, so the little girl ran inside. Then Mayan also arrived and called out Jo Hai's name to find her. At this moment, Do Hai pulled out her syringe for self-defense when she heard Mayan Jun calling her. The henchman immediately pulled out a knife to fight. Unexpectedly, he was punched by the police officer from Yun. At this time, Mayan also found Hai. The little girl asked her uncle to hide because there were police around. But Mayan stopped him. After a while of fighting, the henchman managed to subdue the police officer. He was about to attack with a knife when he heard many police cars arriving, so he left. Sang Yun drove to the back to meet Mi Yong Jun and Do Hai and asked them to come with him to the police station first. Mi Yong Jun immediately hugged the police officer tightly. Do Hai then injected Sang Yun with a drug, causing the police officer to collapse on his shoulder. When the police officer woke up, He found himself tied up and Mayan kneeling on the ground apologizing. Du Hai asked the police officer not to arrest Muong Jun until this matter was resolved. "Once I find a lawyer for him, he will turn himself in." Sang Yan said, "Okay, anyway, I'm not a police officer anymore, I've been suspended." Who asked Tham Tu Tu to make him a fake passport, but this guy said it would take 7 days. He immediately pulled out a wad of money and demanded that it be completed within the next 6 days. Then Jen led many of his henchmen into the detective agency and pointed a gun at the owner. When the owner refused to reveal the client's information, Jiden dealt with the detective. After that, he dealt with the employee and saw him in the process of making a fake passport for Hyan, who went into the hotel to wait for her passport so she could flee abroad. Hai-E received a call from the nurse informing her that Hai-E had woken up. As soon as she heard her daughter's voice, she hung up. Jen took the USB drive from the pendant to the electronics store. But the store owner said that a password was needed to open the software inside, and that she needed to use the computer initially designated to open it. Jen immediately recalled that Director Choi's wife had opened the USB drive using Director Choi's computer. The police officer went to Yun's place to take the two of them out to eat, and Du-Hai said, "The day my father was prosecuted was the 20th, but I only ran out of the house on the evening of the 21st and was kidnapped by this uncle. But my memory stops at the afternoon of May 20th. When I went down to the laboratory and my father injected me with drugs, but I should have woken up that night, meaning someone had injected me with drugs again." Mi Jun pleaded with the police officer to let her see who one last time to remind her to stay at the hospital to take care of Hai Ari. The police officer agreed but asked Mi Jun if he was involved in the case of this person. But Mi Jun remained silent. Du Hai was unhappy that Mayan Jun left her alone with the police officer from Yun. She then asked her uncle to buy her a stir-fried beef burger and bring it back on time so she wouldn't go hungry. After that, she got into the police officer's car. The henchman went to see Jen and apologized for letting Du Hai get away. Jen offered his subordinate a drink. After a while, the subordinate felt dizzy and dropped the glass. Then Jen shot him in the shoulder and said, "This is on orders from your beloved boss." He shot him again in the leg and said, "Didn't you once point a gun at my throat because you were following your boss's orders?" Then he eliminated the subordinate, who fell into a swimming pool. A female bank employee came to the hotel and told H that she had transferred all the money to her cryptocurrency account in the US. Then she received a call from her ex-husband, Mayan, arranging a meeting. Mayan asked H to meet him at the church, which was also the orphanage where they both lived as children. Mayan asked his ex-wife why she was going to that house to meet Jo Hai's father. Hai-E said that house originally belonged to her. Jo Hai's father was adopted after her adoption was cancelled. Otherwise everything would have been hers. And the camera footage from Director Choi's house on the hard drive only shows H entering the house to meet Director Choi and doesn't show anything more because he told Engineer Park to remove all the cameras. Then who told me to go into that house to scout the area so he could easily kidnap Du Hai. Mi Run said he was hoping I wouldn't be the one to deal with her. Who asked, "Did you call me to this church hoping I would tell the truth?" Mi Run drove Hu back to the hospital and asked her to stay with Hai A. He promised to give me the hard drive before going to the police to turn himself in. When Hu asked what he prayed for at church earlier, Mayan said he prayed for Hai to be healthy. Hai-E felt slightly offended after hearing this and went to the hospital. Upon entering the hospital, Hai-E introduced herself to the police as Hai-A's mother. After entering the ward, she continued to introduce herself to Hai-A as "This is your mother." When the maid had gone out, Hai-E's expression changed and she told the little girl that her father wouldn't be coming anymore. Hai-A said that before, her father told her mother to go earn money so she couldn't be with her. Now that her father is earning money, her mother will be with her. Hai-E said that's the case for now. Meanwhile, Du-Hai was taken home by the police officer from Yun to temporarily hide. When she got home, the girl asked to borrow the laptop and then went online to review the images of her father's case, hoping to recall memories from the afternoon of the 20th. When Mr. Jun returned home, Du-Hai scolded him for not buying her a hamburger. "You know how sensitive I am if I skip a meal," she said. The police officer went to Yun's house and immediately called his colleague to buy 3 stir-fried beef burgers. Then, the colleague bought the hamburgers and went to the house, only to find Mayan there, so he pulled out his gun. Mayan raised her hands in surrender and told Hai to raise her hands too, but the girl said, "I'm the victim." Afterward, the 4 of them had a meal together, but the police officer was still in shock. Sang Yun asked his colleague to collect the black box data from in front of Director Choi's house on May 20th for him, because the crime might have been committed on that day, not the 21st as we think. The police colleague said that the chairman's uncle called the police station to inquire about Director Choi's laptop that we are holding as evidence. Jo Hai said it was Jen who demanded it. That guy is very dangerous. We need to arrest him immediately. He took my necklace, so arresting him for theft is enough. I have to go home because I need to recall the events of the 20th. Maybe going there will help me remember if the person who dealt with my father was that engineer Park. The next day, the police officer from Yun drove Jo-hai Hai and Myung-jun to Director Choi's house. The fellow police officer also brought Director Choi's laptop. A subordinate also took pictures of this meeting and sent them to Jaden. Upon entering the house where Doi used to live, Mayan led the police officer to Yun outside for a private conversation. Mayan said he wanted to erase the evidence of the case because he didn't want Do-hai to be hurt. Then Mayan told Do-hai to wait in the garden while she cleaned up the traces of the crime involving Do-hai's parents. After finishing, she called Jo-hai inside so that the little girl could recall the memories of the 20th that she had forgotten. H was sitting in the hospital when Jen walked in because he had been informed by the police that Hun was there. Jen asked Hun to get Director Choi's laptop for herself, because only that laptop can access the data in the transmission cable. If she can do it, I will overlook the fact that she cheated me out of $10 million. I saw the police officer carrying the laptop into Director Choi's house with Jo-hai and Mayan. Go in there and confess. Do-hai looked at the data on the laptop and remembered hearing her parents argue and mention the necklace. So she told the police officer that the necklace that Jimin took from her was actually a USB drive, and is probably looking for this laptop to open that USB drive. We have to report Jen for theft to get him caught. The next morning, the police officer informed Mi-jun that his daughter, Hai Ari, had woken up. He said he could arrange for Mi-jun to see her. Mi-jun then asked Do-hai to go to the hospital with him to visit Hai Ari, but Hai said he didn't know her at all. Afterward, Do-hai took out a designer stuffed rabbit he'd bought from Germany and asked Mi-jun to give it to Hai Ari for him. But Mayan said that he hoped his nephew would personally give Hai Ari a police officer who worked with Sang-yun to secretly get into the car and show Sang-yun the black box data in front of Director Choi's house. In the early morning of the 21st, Engineer Park entered Director Choi's house and left after an hour and a half. 3 days later, he withdrew 50 million won from a savings account, and the day Hai received the payment for the surgery was also that day. The police officer takes Mi-young-jun to the hospital to visit his daughter. The father hugs his daughter tightly and apologizes for not being there during her surgery. Do-hai also gives Hai Ari the branded stuffed animal she brought. Hai Ari says her family is about to be reunited, and now she has another older sister. The father bursts into tears upon hearing this. After the visit, the two were led outside by the police officer. Then Mayan saw Hun. The police officer went to Yun's place to visit Engineer Park and told him, "You went to Director Choi's house in the early morning of the 21st, not the night of the 21st. Was it because of Hai that you lied about everything? You even paid 50 million won in hospital fees for Hai. A few days ago, after visiting you, Hun also withdrew all the money from your savings account. And what was the real reason you dealt with Dr. Yun in the hospital? Was it Hun who ordered it?" Engineer Park said that Dr. Yun in the hospital had seen Hun at the hospital many times, so he spread rumors that they were having an affair. He threatened to tell the police. After I dealt with Director Choi, I then took action against Dr. Yun in the hospital. Because I consider her like my own daughter, I only hope she doesn't have to suffer any more misfortune. Mi ran and Hai went home. The uncle decided to show Do-hai the hard drive data from the house's surveillance cameras. As soon as Do-hai saw Hai enter the house to meet her father, she immediately closed the computer and asked Mayan not to say anything more. The uncle ran after her and asked if she had already seen this. And before that, because Hai had seen this hard drive in Mayan's jacket, when the police officer gave her father's laptop, she plugged the hard drive in to view all the data inside. When Mi-young nervously asked, "Have you remembered everything?" Do-hai said no. She called the police and said she didn't remember anything. Uncle promised to stay by my side until I remember everything, didn't he? At this moment, many police cars arrived at the house. Officer Sang-yun also arrived and saw police officers setting up ladders to climb inside. The police officer who had a feud with Sang-yun said someone reported that a police officer and the kidnapper were inside the house. Then they handcuffed Sang-yun. Inside the house, Do-hai was busy packing her belongings to escape and crying, begging Myung-jun to run away with her. But Yong-jun said he had to take responsibility for what he had done. "We can't run away forever." His goal was to bring her home safely, and now he had done it. But the little girl cried, not wanting to leave her uncle because no one had ever treated her as kindly as Myung-jun. Then the police raided the place and arrested Myung-jun, separating Do-hai from her uncle. Media reported that the kidnapper of little Do-hai had been arrested by the police. As for Choi Do-hai, who was previously believed to have died, it was confirmed that she was healthy and unharmed. The chairman, upon seeing this news, was extremely angry and ordered his subordinates to bring Jae-in here immediately. At this moment, the secretary ran in to report that he had a call from Du Hai. He was at Hai E Hospital. After seeing the news, he told his daughter, "Mom has to go earn money." When Hai asked, "Mom, you can't be with me. If I don't have both a father and a mother, what will I do?" She replied, "I'm obedient and I eat very well. Please don't leave me." H immediately remembered how she had begged Chairman Choi to adopt her, so she told her daughter, "Don't trust anyone, then you won't get hurt. Whether it's me or anyone else, absolutely don't trust anyone, understand?" Then she coldly walked away. While Officer Sang Yun was handcuffed, his former colleague walked in and said, "You're still the same as ever, doing things your own way and not following orders from your superiors. But it turns out you have such strong backing." He unlocked Officer Sang Yun's handcuffs and told the doorman, "You're lucky." Officer Sang Yun went outside and met Lawyer Choi. The lawyer said that Du Hai had found a way to help him get out. The lawyer led Yun to Director Choi's house, where they saw Du Hai being examined by doctors and nurses. The girl said that thanks to the influence of the person I call uncle, he was released. Du Hai told both of them that news about Uncle Mayan is currently all over the newspapers. They will use sensationalist language to write about him, which will be detrimental to him in court. Now we have to divert public attention to another case. After all, the public doesn't care about the truth or falsehood, they just want gossip. You have to investigate who is responsible for handling the case to divert public opinion. Du Hai got out of the car and asked the police officer to go inside and get her laptop. The officer went into the room but couldn't find the laptop. He suddenly remembered that a woman in a police uniform had just left carrying a laptop bag, so he ran outside to look for it and informed Du Hai. The girl told me she knew exactly who took it, and it was none other than Hai. She brought the laptop to Jaeon. He plugged in the cable and entered the password he'd seen in a video of Director Choi's wife opening this USB drive before. He then also saw Director Choi's experimental research documents. H asks Jaden to stop following him. Two police officers go to the video analysis room to review the security camera footage outside Director Choi's house on the day of the crime. Then they report to Officer Yun. The person who went into the house and the person who came out were two different people. The analyst said the person who came out had bow legs, while the person who went in did not, and the person who came out was likely female. The boss immediately ordered that Hai E be prevented from leaving the country at all costs. Because Hai Bao still doesn't have concrete evidence to conclude that who is the one who dealt with the person, we have to corner her and make her come to us on her own. When the chief entered, all the police officers stood up to greet him except for Du Hai, who remained seated. When the chief asked why he was still here after being suspended from going to Yun, Du Hai said that he had asked his uncle to come along because his uncle dared to stand up and fight against an unjust superior. The police chief, hearing Du Hai's firm reasoning, became apprehensive and sat down to talk with everyone. The police officer who went to Yun reported that besides Engineer Park, there was another person at Director Choi's house on the 21st. According to forensic analysis, it was a woman. Du Hai said, "My father drugged me on the 20th and he never lets me sleep for 2 consecutive days. And someone drugged me again after my father was having sex. So I woke up on the night of the 21st and ran outside to meet the kidnapper. And I saw that who had done it." The chief immediately ordered her arrest, but the police officer from Yun said that Du Hai was under anesthesia at the time, so her testimony could be dismissed. Du Hai asked me to find my laptop and necklace first because they are important evidence. At this time, Jaden was getting into his car to go to the airport to return to Singapore when the police officer from Yun and his colleague appeared and announced his arrest for stealing Joy's necklace. While at the hotel, who heard the news that the police chief had announced it to the media. At the crime scene of Director Choi, another woman was also present. "We are tracking down the suspect through the memories of the child, Du Hai." I immediately called the fake passport company but couldn't get through. I went to Tham Tutu's office but found no one there, only bloodstains on the walls and her ID photos on the desk. The police officer went to Yun's jail to visit Yeonjun and showed his father 2 pictures showing that the person entering Director Choi's house was Engineer Park, and the person leaving could be Han. "We will arrest Han as requested by Jo Hai, but she said she wanted you by her side to give her more courage." At this time, a lawyer also came to see Jen. The guard outside turned off the surveillance screen and left. The lawyer invited Jen for coffee. The lawyer showed Jen a newspaper article that revealed he had shot and killed a private investigator. Afterwards, Jaden felt a tightness in his throat from drinking the coffee he was given. It turned out that this lawyer was the brother of a close subordinate whom Jaden had shot and killed, causing him to fall into a swimming pool. He had also been ordered by his boss in Singapore to eliminate Jaden. At Jo Hai's house, the police are now installing surveillance equipment under a table. Officer Yun also brought a stack of documents, a laptop, and a transmission cable and gave them to Lawyer Choi. Meanwhile, who, cornered and desperate, went to the harbor to try to escape abroad. But the ship owner said they had searched all the ships, so crossing the border was impossible. Then she received a call from Joe Hai. Joe Hai began studying all of her father's documents and the data on his laptop, and figured out why her father wanted to bring her to Singapore. Mayan was also escorted by a police officer to meet with the investigation team of the police officer from Yun, so that he could assist in apprehending his wife, Hyan. Then Hai Aun also took a taxi to Du Hai's grandfather's villa and was being watched by the police every move. I opened the door and went into the villa where I used to live for a short time. Then I met Du Hai in the garden. I also knew that the police were watching me, and I even boldly greeted them. Hai admitted to masterminding the kidnapping but completely denied being the one who killed the victim. Hai presented the surveillance camera hard drive that Uncle Mayan Jun had given her. But Hai said, "Does it clearly show her entering my house? This can't be used to accuse me of killing the victim." Hai then began recounting the story she had deduced. "Did you repeatedly come to the hospital to extort money from my father and threaten to reveal his experimental project to the press? You must have received a lot of money from my father, but your greed started to take over, so you kept coming to him, right? Making him furious and dragging you out in a commotion. It was also from that point that the hospital started spreading rumors that she and my father were having an affair, and she became a thorn in my father's side after my mother, so he removed all the cameras and brought her to the house. And when she entered the house while my father went to get tea, she wanted to take the research documents from the safe because they were worth more than the money my father had given her, and she also knew the safe's password from Engineer Park. But at that moment, my father returned faster than she expected, and he had already planned to deal with her. She saw that my mother had already been dealt with by my father, so she ran out to the living room. But my father was distracted, so she gave him a Japanese sword." Hai clapped and praised Du Hai for having such a vivid imagination. As Hai turned to leave, Du Hai immediately chose the weakest point to exploit. That was mentioning Chairman Choi, her grandfather. She recounted how her grandfather's first adoptive parent was Migayon Jun, but H. Jun intervened by exploiting his trust to take his place. She achieved her wish, but her joy was short-lived, as disaster struck soon after. Du Hai further mentioned that the wound on Hai's neck, accidentally caused by Engineer Park, infected her with a terrifying disease. This caused her grandfather to withdraw his decision to adopt her. Afterward, Hai was adopted by another family, but her new father treated her so badly that she had to leave again and return to live in an orphanage until she graduated from high school. From then on, she lived on the monthly allowance that Engineer Park sent as a way of atonement. Engineer Park took full responsibility for handling the person who replaced her. As for Mr. Jun, whom she had exploited, he is now in prison for kidnapping, even though he didn't actually harm her. In a fit of rage, who said that the experiment from years ago had caused her so much pain, being ostracized, and it was Migayon Jun who should have borne all the consequences, she felt it was only natural for him to pay the price. But Du Hai countered, saying that Migayon Jun was always optimistic and always worried about her, about Hai A, and that Hai, being such a person, shouldn't have to suffer. Hai E's anger intensified. She overturned everything on the table and said that she had done nothing wrong, yet she was dragged into being a test subject, injected with drugs, constantly anesthetized, and even subjected to brain manipulation. Du Hai retorted that those things the girl had to endure even longer than Hyan. But Hai E felt that the two couldn't be compared. Du Hai grew up in a comfortable home. Everyone praised her for being exceptionally intelligent. While she had nothing, everything was taken away from her. And the person who stole her future, according to Hai E, was Joe Hai's father. At this point, Du Hai said thank you, a kind of thank you that felt like salt in Hai E's wounds. Thank you for abandoning Hai Ari and Mayan, which unintentionally helped the little girl find a new family. That statement made Hai Ari turn around and yell that everything that belonged to her was being stolen, and instead of letting anyone else have it, she would just take matters into her own hands. In her emotional turmoil, Hai Ari herself admitted to dealing with Joe Hai's father, and immediately after those words, his face turned pale as he realized he had just blurted something out. Outside, Officer Yun heard every word clearly and immediately signaled his colleagues to prepare to storm in. A group of police officers rushed inside. When surrounded, Hai E grabbed a knife, trembling as he tried to gain the upper hand. She deliberately cut her hand to get the source on the blade, then grabbed Du Hai. She threatened to make the little girl suffer the same pain she was carrying. Just when the situation was tense, Mayan appeared. Music. He stepped forward, speaking slowly. In his eyes, at this moment, who was no longer the woman who had just committed a series of horrific acts, but the little girl who had been with him in the orphanage years ago, a child who always longed for the warmth of a family. He reached out and grasped Hu's trembling hand. He said that he had never resented her and that he couldn't bear any more harm inflicted on those he considered his blood relatives. Amidst those sincere words, who also dropped the knife and was embraced by me, trembling. All the strong defenses who had built up over the years suddenly crumbled. He burst into tears, sobbing like a child who had never known how to escape the pain left by the past. The police officer from Yun held a press conference and announced that the culprit behind the kidnapping of Chairman Choi and his wife was a woman. She was behind the entire kidnapping plan. According to the investigation documents, after calculating everything in her head, she turned to her husband and kidnapped little Choi. However, things didn't go according to her plan because her husband, consumed by guilt, turned himself into the police. When reporters pressed him with questions about whether the case was connected to the research led by Director Choi, the police officer merely glanced at his colleagues and replied that the killer's goal was simply to target the director's vast fortune. No research interfered in this matter. The court then opened a trial for the child abduction charge against Muong Jun. The prosecution requested a 15-year prison sentence. At that moment, Do-hai appeared and resolutely insisted on testifying on her own, refusing any assistance for fear that her words would be distorted in some way. When the judge asked the girl to comply with the regulations, Do-hai immediately requested that the judge directly evaluate each of her statements to avoid any inaccuracies. She recounted that on May 21st, she fainted in front of the door and was taken home by Uncle Mi Jeon-jun. During that time, she did not experience fear even once. When she stood up in the courtroom, the little girl asked how she could get her uncle released. The prosecution argued that she was underage and therefore prone to impulsive thinking, but the judge allowed Do-hai to continue. Do-hai shared that every time she opened her mouth, Uncle Mayan would tremble and obediently follow her instructions. The time she spent with him was the most special for her because, from childhood to adulthood, no one had ever treated her so kindly. She admitted that asking for his release was a bit silly because, after all, he had committed kidnapping. But in her way of thinking, being kidnapped is truly a situation where one is deceived and loses their freedom. If that's the case, then the period of time she was considered under house arrest must be counted from the day she was born until the day her parents met with tragedy. The day she lived with Uncle Mi Yong-jun were the rare times she was truly free. At the end of the trial, Do-hai gave Dr. Mo a piece of paper with a message saying that she had read all of her father's research documents. This piece of paper will let her know how successful his experiment was. The little girl also added that no genius lives a happy life and the glamorous future that Mrs. Mo painted might be worthless to her own daughter. Upon returning home, the lawyer gave Do-hai a back scratcher that Muong Jun had sent as a gift. The wooden handle was engraved with the words "Gift for Do-hai, my filial daughter." Just seeing those words, the cherished memories between her and Jun flooded back, causing her to hug the gift tightly and burst into tears. The police officer, Yun, entered the detention area to meet with Engineer Park. Upon arrival, he tried to persuade him to file an appeal. He mentioned that when dealing with Dr. Yun, he was only afraid that he would reveal that who had ordered him to act on her behalf. To lessen the burden on Hu, Yun even paid 50 million won in advance for Hu's daughter's hospital bills. Engineer Park, hearing this, simply replied that the money actually came from his wife's insurance. Although Yun tried to encourage him to let go of his guilt to lighten his mind, the engineer remained silent. As he walked back to his cell, the past flooded back. It was the night Director Choi was punished. When he arrived at the house, he saw Hu trembling, so he immediately told her to change into his uniform. Then he informed her that Do-hai had seen the two of them. That's why Hai-e injected the drug into the little girl so no one would find out. Meanwhile, Do-hai and her lawyer went to the prison to visit Yeon-jun. The little girl brought her uncle a hair clip as a gift, simply because he looked so disheveled. Do-hai also announced her intention to send Hai-ari to an international school as soon as she is discharged from the hospital. She hadn't asked Hai-ari's opinion on this, but since Hai said that since she was the one paying, she had the right to decide quickly. The worm asked to speak privately with the lawyer because there was a football match coming up in prison. Hearing this, Hai asked what kind of tournament he was planning to play in that was so intense. Was it a prison version of the World Cup? When asked why she wasn't going to school, Hai calmly replied that she had nothing left to learn. Mayan Jun gently reminded Do-hai that her weakest point was social skills. When it was time to say goodbye, Uncle Mayan Jun hurried off to soccer practice, so Do-hai apologized and thanked him. Meanwhile, her father, in a playful mood, lightly pinched her cheek. Do-hai retaliated by hitting him on the head with a bat. Then the two of them started playing around. The next morning, Do-hai, dressed in her school uniform, went to school with Hai-ari. When the teacher asked her to introduce herself to the class, Do-hai introduced herself as Choi. Do-hai currently owns approximately 100 billion won and is the registered owner of a hospital, half of which is held by the bank. Immediately after saying this, She remembered Mai and Jun's advice and quickly adjusted her demeanor, flashing a smile. I'm 11 years old and my social skills are still a bit weak. I hope you can help me. Dr. Mo packed her bags and went to Singapore according to the address written on the piece of paper that Du Hai had given her. She entered a luxurious international school and was led by a teacher to a special classroom. There, a little girl was engrossed in solving math problems with a highly focused attitude. The girl's name is Alona, and what made Dr. Mo pause was how incredibly similar Alena's appearance was to Du Hai. It's possible she's Du Hai's twin sister, or it could be another product from a project director Choi once worked on. This series ends here. Wishing you all good health so you can continue to support me. Thank you very much everyone and see you in the next episodes. Now,